I stood frozen in the doorway of my bedroom, hands trembling as I gripped my suitcase. The afternoon sun illuminated the room where my husband Robert had died 3 years ago, where we'd shared 30 years of marriage, where he'd whispered his last words with his hand in mine. My son Daniel's face twisted with anger I'd never seen before. His finger jabbed toward me like I was a criminal instead of the woman who'd given birth to him 29 years ago. Mom, you heard me. Sarah needs the master bedroom. She's pregnant and needs space. You can take the guest room, or maybe it's time you looked into senior living. You know, with people your own age. Senior living. He said it casually, like suggesting a restaurant, instead of telling me to abandon the home I'd lived in for 3 decades. Sarah stood behind him, one hand on her barely visible baby bump, the other covering her mouth in fake shock. But I saw the smirk playing at her lips, that glint of victory in her eyes. This was exactly what she wanted. Daniel, this is my house. Your father and I picked out that wallpaper on our 15th anniversary. He installed these shelves himself when his back was already hurting. Dad's gone, Mom. He's been gone for 3 years. You need to move on. Sarah is my wife now. She's carrying your grandchild. The least you could do is make her comfortable instead of being selfish. The words hit like a physical blow. Selfish. As if opening my home to them 6 months ago meant nothing. As if paying for their groceries, utilities, everything meant nothing. I looked past Daniel at Sarah. Her sweet facade had dropped, completely replaced by cold calculation. Give me 1 week, I said quietly. What? Daniel's anger faltered. 1 week to make arrangements. Sarah whispered something to Daniel. He nodded. Fine, 1 week. But I'm serious, Mom. Sarah needs that room. I walked past them, my suitcase wheels clicking on the hardwood floor Robert had installed himself 25 years ago. I could feel their eyes on my back, could feel Sarah's satisfaction radiating like heat. 1 week. They'd given me 1 week. What they didn't know was that 1 week was all I needed. My name is Margaret Ann Whitmore. I'm 63 years old. For 3 years since my husband Robert's sudden death, I've lived alone in our 4-bedroom house in Portland, Oregon. The house is worth approximately $1.2 million. I have an investment portfolio worth $3 million and a pension from 30 years as a senior forensic accountant, the kind who tracked fraud and built cases that sent white-collar criminals to prison. But my son doesn't know any of this. When Robert died, I made a decision. I'd watched too many friends' children turn into vultures over inheritance, so I kept quiet. I drove my 15-year-old Camry clipped coupons, bought generic brands. I played the struggling widow perfectly. For 2.5 years, Daniel was wonderful. Weekly calls, monthly visits, genuine concern. He was the son I'd raised. Then he met Sarah. I should have seen the red flags immediately. Sarah Mitchell, 28, supposedly from a small Georgia town. She worked in marketing, she claimed. The first time Daniel brought her over, I watched her eyes assess everything. The chandelier, the crown moldings, the furniture. It wasn't curiosity, it was calculation. What a beautiful home, she'd said, southern accent thick. Margaret, don't you think about downsizing? This is so much space for one person. The comments continued for months, always phrased as concern, always delivered with that sweet smile. These stairs, aren't you worried about falling at your age? This neighborhood is changing, don't you feel out of place? They got engaged after 6 months. Then things accelerated. Sarah began visiting when Daniel worked rearranging furniture, taking down photos. Just freshening up, she'd say. One day, I came home to find Robert's favorite recliner gone. The worn leather chair where he'd read newspapers, where I'd curled up after he died, just to smell his cologne. That old thing, Sarah had said. It was falling apart. I took it to the dump. You should thank me. I'd stood there feeling punched in the stomach, but I said nothing. I didn't want to be the difficult mother-in-law. I should have drawn a line then. But I stayed silent, and Sarah took that as permission. After the wedding, Sarah quit her job. Too stressful, she told Daniel. What she really wanted was to spend Daniel's salary on designer clothes and expensive brunches while he worked longer hours to cover their mounting debt. Then 6 months ago came the request. They couldn't afford rent anymore. Could they stay with me temporarily? Just 3 months. Of course, I'd said, as long as you need. They moved in that weekend. Sarah immediately redecorated my living room without asking, threw out my mother's Afghan, complained about everything. I paid for groceries and utilities while they spent Daniel's salary on God knows what. 3 months passed, then 6. When I gently mentioned it, Sarah cried and said they needed more time. Daniel backed her up, saying family helps each other. Then 3 weeks ago, Sarah announced her pregnancy. I should have been thrilled. But the way she said it, hand on her flat stomach, that look of smug satisfaction, made my blood run cold. "Well, Margaret," she said, using my first name instead of Mom, "I guess we're staying longer than planned. Can't move while pregnant. You understand?" The next day, she started talking about the nursery, how the guest room had the best light, how convenient to have it next to the master bedroom, my bedroom, where Robert had died, where we'd built our life. I said no, firmly, for the first time since they'd moved in. Sarah's face darkened. "We'll see about that." And now here I was, banished to the guest room, given a week's notice in my own home. I sat on the guest bed and opened my laptop. The shock was wearing off, replaced by something cold and sharp. I pulled up my bank account's investment portfolios, the house deed, with my name alone. Then I started typing emails. First to James Hutchinson, my lawyer and Robert's college roommate. "James, urgent family matter. Need to discuss estate planning and property rights. 9 a.m. tomorrow." Second to Patricia Chen, a private investigator who owed me a huge favor. "Patricia needs surveillance and deep background check on my daughter-in-law. Can you meet tomorrow afternoon?" Third to my financial advisor. "Need to restructure accounts and get a real estate attorney recommendation. Family emergency." I sent the emails. Through the walls I heard Sarah laughing. That high fake laugh she used when playing innocent. They had no idea what was coming. I spent that night planning. By sunrise I had a strategy. Ruthless, calculated, necessary. This wasn't just about the bedroom. This was about the rest of my life. If I let them push me out now, I'd spend my remaining years at their mercy. I'd become the burden shuffled off to whatever nursing home was cheapest, while they lived in my house, spent my money, erased Robert's memory. That wasn't happening. At 8 a.m., I made breakfast. Scrambled eggs, toast, fresh fruit. Playing the doting mother perfectly. Sarah didn't come down. Daniel appeared at 8:30, dressed for work, not meeting my eyes. "Morning, Mom." "Good morning, sweetheart. I made your favorite." He ate mechanically, still not looking at me. "Daniel, about yesterday." "Mom, please. Sarah's stressed about the pregnancy. She needs stability, comfort. You understand, right? You were pregnant once." I poured him more coffee. "Of course I understand. That's why I'm making arrangements. Everything will be sorted by week's end." Relief washed over his face. "Thanks, Mom. You're being really mature. Maybe we can look at retirement communities together. There's one 20 minutes away with activities. Bingo, arts and crafts. You might enjoy it." Bingo. Arts and crafts. Like I was a child needing entertainment instead of a woman who'd spent 3 decades hunting financial criminals. I smiled. "That's thoughtful, dear, but I have something else in mind." He didn't ask what. He finished breakfast, kissed my cheek with obligation rather than affection, and left. I waited until his car pulled away, then went upstairs and knocked on the master bedroom door. "Come in." Sarah's voice was bright, victorious. I opened the door. She sat in my bed, surrounded by my pillows, scrolling her phone. She'd redecorated here, too. Photos of Robert and me were gone, replaced by her and Daniel's engagement shots. My jewelry box was missing. Robert's watch had disappeared. "Margaret, good morning. Did Daniel leave already?" "Yes. I wanted to let you know I've started making arrangements. I'll be out by week's end, just like we discussed." Her smile widened. "Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad you're being reasonable. This house is too much for one person anyway. And with the baby coming, we really need space." "I understand completely. While I'm arranging things, would you mind if I took some furniture from this room? Some pieces have sentimental value. The dresser Robert built himself, the nightstands from my parents." Her expression flickered with annoyance. "Well, I don't know. We've really made this room ours. These pieces work with our aesthetic. Maybe take stuff from the guest room instead." "Of course. Whatever works for you." Her smile returned. "You're being great about this, Margaret. Once we're settled, we'll have you over for dinner all the time. You'll see the baby grow up. You can be the fun grandma who visits then goes home. Over for dinner, in my own house, like a guest they were doing a favor. That sounds lovely, I said, each word costing me. I closed the door and texted James. He responded immediately, 9 a.m. my office. At 8:45, I drove downtown. Traffic gave me time to rehearse what I'd say, how much to reveal. James's office had dark wood paneling and thick carpets. His secretary, Diane, greeted me warmly. "Mrs. Whitmore, go right in. He's expecting you." James Hutchinson, late 60s, with silver hair and sharp eyes, stood and hugged me. "Margaret, your email worried me. What's happening?" I sat in the leather chair. "James, I need complete honesty, professional advice, and help protecting myself from my own son." His expression turned serious. "Tell me everything." I did. Sarah's takeover, Daniel's transformation, the bedroom ultimatum, my suspicion the pregnancy might be fake. When I finished, he set down his pen. "How much does Daniel know about your finances?" "Nothing specific. He thinks I'm living modestly on a pension." "And Robert's will left everything to you? Daniel has no current legal claim." "Correct. Everything's in my name alone." James nodded. "That gives us strong legal position. What do you want to do?" I hesitated. Did I want to kick out my son? Could I do that? Part of me wants them out immediately. But he's my son, James. And there's supposedly a baby coming. James looked at me directly. "Margaret, I've known Daniel since he was in diapers. What he did yesterday, kicking you out of your bedroom in your house, that's not confusion. That's choice. He chose Sarah over you. He chose to disrespect you." The words hit hard, but I knew he was right. "So what do I do?" "You have options. 1, evict them. 30 days notice. 2, create a rental agreement with clear terms. They pay market rent, follow rules, or get evicted. 3, and I recommend this play, the long game. Document everything. Build an airtight case. Then give them a choice, accept your terms or face consequences." That sounds strategic. You spent 30 years as a forensic accountant. You know how to build cases. Use those skills. He was right. I'd built dozens of cases that held up in court, sent criminals to prison, recovered millions. What would that look like practically? Document everything. Record conversations. Oregon's a one-party consent state. Keep detailed journals. Gather financial records showing your support. Photograph property changes. Create undeniable evidence of their behavior. How long? Few weeks minimum, the more the better. The key is thoroughness. Daily notes dated and time-stamped. Make it impossible to deny. I can do that. Good. I'll draft documents. First, formal notice the house is your property and their guests. Second, a rental agreement in case you go that route. Third, and critically updated will and estate documents. My will. Margaret, if something happens to you today, everything goes to Daniel. Is that what you want Sarah in your house, erasing you and Robert while spending your money? The image made me sick. No. Then we make changes. Set up a trust with conditions. Daniel only inherits if he meets specific requirements, maintains relationship, demonstrates respect, meets behavioral standards. That's legal. Absolutely. It's your money. You decide how it's distributed. We can require basic human decency. Let's do it. All of it. I'll have drafts by tomorrow. Start documenting now. And Margaret, be careful. If Sarah's as manipulative as you say, she may escalate. We talked another hour about strategy and scenarios. When I left, I had a plan and renewed purpose. My phone buzzed. Patricia Chen. Got your email. Sounds serious. 2 p.m. at Morrison Street Coffee Shop. I texted back, perfect. Money no object. 3 hours until my meeting. I went home. Sarah's car was gone. Good. Inside, I noticed more changes. Family photos from the hallway were gone, replaced by modern art. My mother's embroidered pillows missing from the couch. I photographed everything, every change, every missing item, cataloging the systematic erasure of my family's history. Then I created a document, Timeline of Events, Daniel and Sarah Whitmore. I started 2 years ago when Daniel brought Sarah home. Every major incident boundary crossed, promise, broken red flag ignored. The disappeared furniture, Robert's recliner, my mother's Afghan, family photos, the financial support. I pulled bank statements and added up numbers. Over 6 months, I'd spent $22,000 supporting them. $22,000 they'd never acknowledged or offered to repay. The disrespect. Every comment, slight boundary crossed. I worked 3 hours straight building my case like my accounting days. Facts, figures, dates, times, receipts, photos, no emotion, just cold, hard evidence. At 1:30, I saved everything, locked my laptop with a new password, and left to meet Patricia. The coffee shop had exposed brick and vintage furniture. Patricia was already there, short black hair with silver streaks, sharp eyes, leather jacket. She hugged me. "Margaret Whitmore, I was surprised by your email. It's been 5 years since the Chen case. My sister still talks about how you saved her. Sit, tell me what's happening." I ordered tea and looked at her directly. "I need you to investigate Sarah Mitchell Whitmore. Everything. Real background, pattern of behavior, and whether she's actually pregnant." Patricia pulled out her phone. "Start from the beginning." I told her everything. The whirlwind romance, house takeover, mounting debt, sudden pregnancy, bedroom incident. Patricia's jaw tightened. "You think she's a con artist?" "I think she saw opportunity and took it. Daniel makes decent money. She thinks I'm a poor widow in $1 million house. She's positioning to inherit everything or push me out." "Smart play if that's her game." "Timeline. As soon as possible, within the week. I can do basic background in 48 hours, full financial history, addresses, employment, criminal records, social media. Surveillance takes longer. What specifically? What she does all day, who she meets, where she goes, is she really pregnant? Meeting with lawyers. I want to know who Sarah Mitchell really is. This isn't cheap. We're looking at $15,000 to $20,000. I don't care about cost. I need truth." Patricia studied me. "You're preparing for war." "I'm protecting myself." "Okay, I'm in. Send me everything. Photos, social media, her car, Daniel's info, daily routines. More information, faster results." We spent 45 minutes on details. Patricia gave me a burner phone, showed me encrypted messaging, taught me basic counter-surveillance. "If I find something really bad, something criminal, are you prepared?" "I'm prepared. Whatever the truth is, I need it." When I left, I felt energized. For the first time in months, I wasn't reacting. I was taking control. I was going to war. Home at 4 p.m., Sarah's car was back with 2 others. I walked inside to loud music, laughter, wine glasses clinking. In my living room, Sarah was hosting a full party. 5 friends sprawled on my furniture, wine bottles on my coffee table, takeout everywhere. Sarah looked up, flushed with wine. "Oh, Margaret girls, this is my mother-in-law." Her friends looked at me with pity and amusement. One blonde laughed. "This is the one moving to the guest room, poor thing." My fists clenched, but I kept my voice pleasant. "I didn't realize you were having people over." "Just a few friends, a little celebration. We'll keep it down." She turned back, dismissing me. "So anyway, we're renovating the master bathroom. Those tiles are so dated." Those tiles were from our 20th anniversary. Robert's surprised because I'd always wanted a soaking tub. I pulled out my phone, photographed the scene discreetly. Wine bottles mess, casual disrespect. Then I went upstairs and started recording audio. For 3 hours, I documented everything. Noise levels, damage, Sarah's friends laughing about, the old lady banished to the back room. When Daniel came home at 8, I waited for him to tell them to quiet down, defend me, show basic respect. Instead, he joined the party. Laughed at Sarah's stories about her difficult mother-in-law, opened more wine. I recorded every word. At 11, the party wound down. Sarah's friends left stumbling drunk to their cars. The house fell silent. I sat with my laptop downloading audio files, adding today's entries, building my case piece by piece. 1 week, they'd said. They had no idea what arrangements I was making. Thursday morning, Daniel left early with a hangover. Sarah slept until 1. I spent the morning cleaning their disaster, photographing every stain, broken item, damage. Wine on my Persian rug, cigarette burn on my side table, broken frame from our honeymoon photo. I cataloged everything, priced damages, added it to my file. At 2 p.m. James called. "Documents ready. Can you come at 4? At his office, James had a thick folder waiting. "Let's go through everything." First document, formal legal notice that 2847 Maple Drive was solely owned by Margaret Ann Whitmore and all occupants resided at her discretion. Second rental agreement, 10 pages of detailed terms, market rent of $3,000 monthly, utilities split equally, $5,000 damage deposit, specific clauses about noise guests, alterations, grounds for immediate eviction. Third, my new will and estate plan. The house would go into irrevocable trust upon my death. Daniel would be beneficiary only if specific conditions were met. Weekly phone calls, monthly visits demonstrated respect and care, no elder abuse or exploitation. If conditions weren't met, house sold and proceeds donated to charity. Financial assets similarly structured. Measurable objective standards. "This is perfect," I said. "Sign in front of Diane for notarization." I signed with steady hand. Diane notarized everything. James filed originals in his safe. "What's next?" he asked. "I continue gathering evidence. Let them think they've won. When I have enough, when my case is airtight, I make them an offer they can't refuse." James smiled grimly. "Robert would be proud. He always said you were the strongest person he knew." The mention of Robert stung, but I blinked back tears. No time for emotion. "Thank you, James." That evening, I made pot roast, Daniel's childhood favorite. Set the table, nicely lit candles, created normal family dinner appearance. Daniel looked surprised. "Mom, you didn't have to." "I wanted to. A nice family dinner, just us 3. Sarah came down in expensive loungewear, looking at the table with disdain. "How domestic." We sat. I served food, asked about their days, played doting mother perfectly, and I watched them. I watched Sarah direct every conversation back to herself, watched Daniel defer constantly, even contradicting me, watched the power dynamics, how she controlled him with looks and touches and calculated words. My son had become a stranger. After dinner, clearing plates, Sarah made her announcement. "Margaret, I've been thinking about the bedroom. We should transition this weekend. I want to start the nursery setup. You understand? This weekend, that's 2 days. You said 1 week. It's been almost a week. Sooner we get settled, better for everyone." I turned to Daniel. "Is this what you want?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "It makes sense, Mom. We need to get organized before the baby." "Have you thought about where I'll put my things? The guest room is very small." Sarah waved dismissively. "You don't need all that stuff anyway. Most of it's clutter. We'll help you go through everything, figure out what's actually important, like a fresh start." She was planning to throw away my life, reduce everything to one small room. "I see. Don't look worried. It'll be good for you. Minimalism is very in, and at your age you don't need all that stuff weighing you down." At my age, like I was already dead. I finished the dishwasher in silence. They retreated to the living room. I stayed in the kitchen updating documentation. 3 days. I had 3 days to finalize plans. Friday morning, Patricia called at 9. "Got preliminary background on Sarah Mitchell Whitmore." "Go ahead." Margaret Sarah grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Buckhead area, wealthy, upper-middle-class family. Father Marcus Mitchell, successful dentist. Mother Linda Mitchell, real estate agent. Both alive, both still in the same house. My stomach tightened. She lied. Either lied or wildly exaggerated. Public records show normal, functional family. No abuse record, no CPS calls, no police reports. What else? Employment history is spotty. 7 jobs in 6 years. Never stays longer than 10 months. Every job ends the same, quits without notice. Pattern. She looks for shortcuts. Opportunities to advance through means other than work. Like marrying my son. Exactly. Her social media shows constant luxury items, expensive restaurants, designer clothes, way more than her salary history supports. Where was the money coming from? Working on it. But Margaret, there's more. I tracked down her ex-boyfriend, Marcus Stevens. They dated 3 years before she met Daniel. And she did the same thing. Moved in, spent his money, racked up debt, announced pregnancy. My blood ran cold. What happened? Marcus got suspicious when she refused to let him attend doctor appointments. When he pushed for proof, she claimed miscarriage. When he asked for medical records, she broke up and disappeared. Cleared their joint account, maxed his cards. He never got proof the pregnancy existed. I had to sit down. She faked it. He thinks so. No medical records, no ultrasounds he ever saw, no bills. Pattern is suspicious as hell. Can you find out if Sarah's really pregnant now? I can watch her routine, see if she goes to actual appointments, follow her if she claims doctor visits. If she's faking, she'll slip up. Do it, whatever it takes. After Patricia hung up, I sat processing. Sarah was a con artist. She'd done this before. Pattern method playbook. My son was just her latest mark. The baby probably wasn't real. I felt sick, not just at Sarah's deception, but Daniel's willingness to be deceived. I found Sarah in the kitchen, eating expensive yogurt. "Sarah, when's your next doctor's appointment? I'd like to come." Her expression flickered. "That's not necessary." "I know. I'd just like to be involved. I'm going to be a grandmother." "My appointments are boring, just routine stuff." "I don't mind. When is it?" "I'd have to check my calendar." "Can you check now?" She set down her phone, jaw tight. "I'll check later. Stop pushing. I'm asking a simple question. You know what I don't appreciate being interrogated in my own home. This isn't your home, Sarah. It's mine." The words came out sharp and clear. Her face went white, then red. "Excuse me. This house is in my name. You and Daniel are guests. We'll see about that." She grabbed her phone and stormed out. 20 minutes later, Daniel called. "Mom, what the hell? Sarah says you're threatening us." "Not threatening, stating facts. The house is in my name. You're living here because I invited you temporarily. But Dad left it to pass to me eventually, right?" "Eventually, perhaps. But right now, today, it's mine. And I'm reconsidering my estate arrangements." Long pause. "Are you threatening to cut me out?" "I'm reassessing based on recent events. You gave me an ultimatum. Sarah's been erasing your father's memory. You've treated me with disrespect. So yes, I'm rethinking things." "This is insane." "Daniel, I can do whatever I want with my property. If you want to continue benefiting from my generosity, things need to change significantly." Sarah was right. You're trying to control us. "I'm setting boundaries. I've spent 6 months paying for everything while you rack up debt. I've been dismissed and disrespected. That ends now. We need to talk in person." "Come home from work. Come now." "I have meetings. Then tonight, but things are changing. Accept that and work with me, or make other arrangements." I hung up. My hands shook with adrenaline. I'd stood up for myself, drew my line. When Daniel came home at 7, he looked exhausted and angry. Sarah waited in the living room, grim-faced. "Mom, we need to talk." We sat, Daniel and Sarah on the couch, me in Robert's chair. "Mom, I think you're being completely unreasonable. Do you know how much money I've spent supporting you two? $22,000 in 6 months. Groceries, utilities, insurance, everything." He blinked. "I didn't realize." "Because you weren't paying attention. You let me subsidize your lifestyle while you spent money on designer clothes and expensive dinners." Sarah spoke up, voice sweet. "Margaret, we've been contributing." "No, I have receipts for everything. You've contributed exactly nothing except complaints and demands." Daniel stood. "You invited us to stay. You offered help." "I offered temporary help while you got on your feet. That was 6 months ago. You're in more debt than when you moved in, and instead of gratitude, you're kicking me out of my bedroom." "Sarah's pregnant. She needs space." "Does she?" I looked at Sarah. "Show me proof. Ultrasound picture, medical records, anything proving this pregnancy is real." Sarah's face went still. "I can't believe you'd ask that. That's offensive." Simple request. If you're really pregnant, you'll have documentation. I don't have to prove anything. You do if you want me to uproot my life based on your supposed condition. Daniel stepped between us. Mom, you're out of line. Have you seen proof, been to an appointment, seen an ultrasound? He hesitated, just for a second. Flicker of doubt. Sarah shows me pictures on her phone. Pictures anyone could Google. Have you personally seen concrete medical evidence? This is harassment. Sarah was on her feet. Daniel, are you letting her treat me like this? Daniel looked between us. For a moment, I thought I'd gotten through, but then Sarah touched her stomach, tears filling her eyes. Daniel, I don't feel safe. She's trying to hurt our baby with this stress. We need to leave, tonight. Sarah, tonight. I'm not staying where your mother thinks I'm lying about being pregnant. Daniel looked at me. I saw him make his choice. Her over me, her word over mine. Mom, we need space. We're staying somewhere else. Where you're drowning in debt. That's not your concern anymore, since you're so focused on money and treating my wife like a criminal. They went upstairs to pack. I sat, recording everything. 30 minutes later, they returned with suitcases. Sarah wouldn't look at me. Daniel stopped at the door. We'll be back for our things. Don't touch anything. Daniel, please. Can we talk rationally? There's nothing rational about accusing a pregnant woman of lying. I thought you'd be happy about becoming a grandmother. Instead, you're making everything about you and your house and your money. I don't even recognize you anymore. They left. I heard Sarah's Mercedes start, heard them drive away. I sat alone in silence, wondering if I'd destroyed my relationship with my son forever. But as hours passed, shock wore off. I didn't feel regret. I felt relief. For the first time in 6 months, my house was quiet, peaceful, mine. I called James. They left voluntarily. How do you feel? Relieved. Is that terrible? It's honest. What did you say? I explained the confrontation. Risky but necessary. You needed to know if Daniel would stand up for truth. He chose her, without evidence. I'm sorry, Margaret. What now? Document that they left voluntarily. Save communications. If they try to return, you're in stronger position to set terms. Monday, Patricia called. I've been following Sarah since Friday. She went straight to her parents' house in Atlanta. First-class flight that night. Her parents, the ones she supposedly escaped from. Same ones. I've got photos of them having brunch Sunday. Big smiles, hugs, laughter. Not exactly abused child reuniting with tormentors. So another lie. Complete fabrication. And Daniel flew out with her. He's staying there too. He'd chosen her completely. Chosen to fly across country, stay with her family, invest in her version of reality. Keep watching. That week was strange. Empty house, no demands, no messes, no one treating me like an inconvenience. I cooked for one, watched what I wanted, slept in my own bed, started going through Robert's things, allowing myself to grieve properly, and I waited. Thursday, 9 days after they left, Daniel texted, Mom, we need to talk. Can we meet somewhere neutral? I texted back, we can talk at the house. I'm not sure that's good. It's my offer. Take it or leave it. Fine. Tomorrow at 2. Friday at 2, Daniel arrived alone. No Sarah. He looked tired, thinner. Where's Sarah? Staying with her parents until things settle. I see. Sit. We sat in the living room. I'd made coffee, set out cookies. Mom, I've been thinking about what happened. So have I. I think we both said things we regret. Daniel, I don't regret anything. Every word was true. He flinched. You accused Sarah of faking pregnancy. I asked for proof. Notice she still hasn't provided any. She doesn't have to prove anything. Then I don't have to believe her. I pulled out my folder. I want to show you something. I laid out evidence methodically. Bank statements showing $22,000 in expenses. Timeline of incidents. Photos of damage. Background check showing Sarah's lies about her family. I've been documenting everything. Every conversation expense boundary crossed. He looked through papers, face pale. You've been spying, protecting myself. Look at what I found. I showed him Patricia's report on the ex-boyfriend, the pattern, the previous fake pregnancy. This isn't proof, he said weakly. Daniel, open your eyes. She's done this before. Finds men with resources, moves in, creates dependency. Claims pregnancy either disappears with money or continues the con. Sarah loves me. Sarah loves what you represent. Security, a meal ticket, a house worth over $1 million she thinks she can inherit. You're wrong. Then explain why she lied about her family, why she's staying with parents she supposedly escaped from, why she's never produced medical evidence of pregnancy. He stood agitated. I don't have to explain anything. It becomes my business when she uses supposed pregnancy to manipulate my son and take my house. You've become paranoid and controlling. I stood too. Daniel, I'm making you an offer, one time. Take it or leave it. What offer? Move back in, but there will be terms. Formal rental agreement, market rent of $3,000 monthly. You pay utilities, respect my property, contribute to expenses, and provide proof Sarah's actually pregnant or she doesn't move back. You're giving me an ultimatum. I'm offering a choice. Accept these terms and rebuild our relationship on honest ground. Or refuse, and I move forward without you. Without me, I'm your son. You're my son who kicked me out of my bedroom, who let his wife throw away your father's belongings, who's treated me like a burden. So yes, without you if necessary. He looked at me like he'd never seen me before. When did you become so cold? I'm not cold. I'm finally standing up for myself. Sarah was right. You only care about money and control. If that were true, I'd have cut you off months ago. I'm giving you a fair choice. Accept reasonable terms or make other arrangements. He grabbed his jacket. I need to think. You have until month's end. After that, if you want back in, it's my way or not at all. He left without another word. I sat in Robert's chair and exhaled slowly. I'd done it. Stood my ground. Given him a choice. Deep down, I already knew. He'd choose Sarah. The comfortable lie over uncomfortable truth. And I'd have to learn to live with that. But at least I'd be living in my own house on my own terms, with my dignity intact. That night, I slept in my own bed, in my own room, with my own peace of mind. Whatever Daniel decided, I'd done the right thing. Protected myself. Stood up to manipulation. Refused to be a victim. Because I was Margaret Ann Whitmore. 63 years old. Survived 30 years hunting criminals who thought they were smarter than me. Survived losing Robert. I'd survive this too. And the next morning, when my phone rang with Patricia's number, I answered calmly. Margaret, you need to hear this. I just discovered something about Sarah that changes everything. Her real name isn't Sarah Mitchell. It's Sarah Brennan, and she's wanted in 2 other states for fraud. I sat up straight, my forensic accountant instincts kicking into high gear. Tell me everything. I gripped the phone tighter, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Sarah Brennan, you're absolutely sure? Patricia's voice was steady, professional. 100%. I ran her fingerprints from a wine glass at your house through my contacts. Real name, Sarah Elizabeth Brennan, born in Savannah, not Atlanta. She's got active warrants in Florida and Texas for wire fraud and identity theft. Margaret, your son, is living with a career criminal. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the maple tree Robert had planted when Daniel was born. My hands were shaking again, but this time with something other than fear. This was the smoking gun I needed. What exactly did she do in Florida and Texas? Florida, first 3 years ago, she convinced an elderly man she was his long-lost granddaughter. Moved into his house, gained his trust, got power of attorney while he was sick, cleaned out his accounts, forged his signature on property transfers. By the time his real family figured it out, she'd stolen over $400,000 and disappeared. The man died 6 months later, they say, from the stress. My stomach turned. And Texas. Similar pattern, but different approach. She targeted a widower, claimed she was pregnant with his child. He was lonely, desperate to believe her. She moved in, spent 2 years bleeding him dry. When he finally demanded a paternity test after the baby was supposedly born, she vanished. Turned out there never was a baby. She'd been faking the whole pregnancy with prosthetics and lies. He lost his house, his savings, everything. That's when he went to the police and they discovered her real identity. I closed my eyes. The pattern was so clear now. Elderly victims, widowers, people who were vulnerable, lonely, desperate for connection. People like Daniel still grieving his father, looking for someone to fill that void. How did she avoid getting caught? She's smart. Changes her name, her background story, her appearance slightly each time. She stays just long enough to maximize profit, but leaves before anyone can build a solid case. And she's careful about choosing victims who might be too embarrassed to report her or who die before they can. But you said there are active warrants. The Texas victim didn't give up. He pushed the investigation, got the FBI involved because she crossed state lines. They've been looking for her for 18 months. Margaret, if we can prove Sarah Mitchell is Sarah Brennan, your son could be an accessory after the fact if he's helping her hide. That thought made me physically ill. Daniel doesn't know. He can't know. He thinks she's just a young woman from Georgia who had a rough childhood. Probably not. She's good at what she does. But we need to move fast. If she suspects we're onto her, she'll run. And she might clean out Daniel's accounts on the way out, maybe even try to forge your signature on property documents if she can access them. I thought about my house, my investments, everything I'd spent a lifetime building. What do? First, don't confront her. Don't let on that you know anything. Second, I'm going to contact the FBI today. They'll want to coordinate with local police. Third, you need to lock down all your financial accounts immediately. New passwords, fraud alerts, the works. Fourth, warn your lawyer and financial advisor. If she's been in your house for 6 months, she might have access to documents, account numbers, personal information. She's in Atlanta right now, with Daniel. Even better. That gives us time to set up surveillance here and coordinate with the FBI before she comes back. Do you know when they're planning to return? Daniel said Sarah's staying there until things settle down, but he didn't say how long. I'll find out. I've got contacts in Atlanta who can watch them, but Margaret, you need to call Daniel, today. You need to tell him what we found. He won't believe me. He'll think I'm making it up to break them apart. Then we get proof first. I'll send you everything I have. Mugshots, fingerprint matches, police reports, victim statements. When you talk to Daniel, you'll have evidence he can't deny. How long will that take? I can have a preliminary package to you by tonight. Full documentation within 48 hours. But Margaret, we're on a clock here. If Sarah suspects anything, she'll move fast. After I hung up with Patricia, I immediately called James. Margaret, I was just about to call you. I got a very strange phone call this morning. From who? A man claiming to be an attorney representing Sarah Whitmore. He wanted to know about the status of your estate, whether you'd made any recent changes to your will, the value of your property. I told him attorney-client privilege prevented me from discussing anything, and hung up. But Margaret, how would Sarah even know to call me? How would she have my contact information? Ice ran through my veins. She's been in my house for 6 months. She could have gone through my papers, my computer, anything. This is serious. If she's trying to gain information about your estate, she might be planning something. I'm going to file a formal complaint with the state bar. No legitimate attorney would make that kind of call. James, it's worse than that. Much worse. I told him everything Patricia had discovered. Sarah Brennan, the warrants, the pattern of fraud, the stolen identities and ruined lives. The silence on the other end lasted so long, I thought the call had dropped. James, I'm here. I'm just processing. Margaret, this woman is dangerous. Not just financially dangerous, but potentially physically dangerous. She's facing serious prison time if she's caught. People like that can become desperate. What should I do? Lock everything down. I'm going to contact the police and the FBI myself. I'm going to get emergency restraining orders preventing her from accessing any of your property or accounts. I'm going to make sure that even if she somehow forged documents, they can't be executed without multiple verifications. And Margaret, I think you should consider staying somewhere else for a few days. This is my house. I'm not leaving. Then at least get security, cameras, alarm system, maybe even private security for a few days. If she realizes we're on to her, there's no telling what she might do. By 3 p.m., I'd changed every password on every account I had. I'd called my bank and put fraud alerts on everything. I'd contacted my financial advisor and explained the situation. I'd given James permission to do whatever was legally necessary to protect my assets. By 4 p.m., a security company was at my house installing cameras and a new alarm system. By 5 p.m., Patricia emailed me a file labeled Sarah Brennan Evidence Package. My hands shook as I opened it. The first document was a police report from Pensacola, Florida. Date March 2022. Victim Harold Chen, age 78, widower. Suspect Sarah Elizabeth Brennan, alias Sarah Chen, claiming to be victim's granddaughter. Estimated theft, $420,000. The mugshot showed Sarah's face younger, but unmistakably her. Same green eyes, same bone structure. Her hair was darker, cut shorter, but it was definitely her. The second document was from Austin, Texas. Date November 2023. Victim Robert Morrison, age 55, widower. Suspect Sarah Elizabeth Brennan, alias Sarah Morrison. Fake pregnancy identity fraud theft. Estimated theft, $270,000. I stared at that name. Robert Morrison. The same name as my financial advisor. She'd used the name of someone connected to me, probably found it in my papers. Was she planning to impersonate my financial advisor somehow? The level of calculation was chilling. The third document was an FBI bulletin. Sarah Elizabeth Brennan wanted for interstate fraud identity theft, elder abuse, known aliases, Sarah Chen, Sarah Morrison, Sarah Davis, Sarah Taylor. Last known location, Dallas, Texas, January 2024. Considered a flight risk. I scrolled through page after page. Victim statements, financial records, timeline of her movements. The pattern was clear and horrifying. She'd been doing this for at least 5 years, probably longer. She targeted vulnerable people, gained their trust, stole everything she could, and disappeared. And now she had my son. My phone rang. Daniel. Hi, sweetheart. Mom, we need to talk. Sarah's really upset about what happened. She's saying you accused her of terrible things, that you made her feel unsafe in her own home. Not her home, I wanted to scream. My home. But I kept my voice calm. Daniel, I need you to come home. Alone. There's something I need to show you. I'm not leaving Sarah right now. She needs me. Daniel, please. This is important. Life or death, important. You're being dramatic. I'm being serious. I have information about Sarah that you need to see. Information that can be verified through law enforcement. Silence. What kind of information? The kind I can't discuss over the phone. The kind that needs to be done in person with documentation. Can you fly home tomorrow? I'll pay for the ticket. Sarah's going to think I'm choosing you over her. Daniel, I'm your mother. I've never lied to you. I've never manipulated you. I'm asking you to trust me one more time. Come home tomorrow. Look at what I have to show you. And then you can make your own decision about what to do. Another long silence. Fine. I'll come tomorrow afternoon. But Mom, this better be real. If you're just trying to break us up with some made-up story, I'm done. Do you understand? I'll be done with you forever. I understand. I'll pick you up at the airport. Just text me your flight information. After he hung up, I sat down at my kitchen table and cried for the first time since this whole nightmare began. I cried for my son who'd been deceived. I cried for Robert, who wasn't here to help me through this. I cried for the victim Sarah had destroyed before Daniel. I cried for the man Harold Chen who died thinking his granddaughter had betrayed him. Then I dried my eyes and called Patricia. Daniel's coming home tomorrow. I need everything you have ready to show him. I'll bring hard copies of everything. Police reports, FBI bulletins, mugshots, victim statements, financial records. Everything that proves Sarah Mitchell is Sarah Brennan. What if he still doesn't believe it? Then we'll have the FBI talk to him. Margaret, they're already coordinating with Portland PD. They want to arrest her the moment she sets foot back in Oregon, but they need to locate her first, and right now she's in Georgia, which complicates jurisdiction. She's at her parents' house in Atlanta. I can give you the address. Her parents might not even be her real parents. She could be staying with accomplices or other victims. But yes, give me the address. The FBI will coordinate with Atlanta field office. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about Daniel, about the choice he'd have to make tomorrow. Would he believe the evidence? Would he accept that the woman he loved was a lie? Or would he convince himself I'd somehow fabricated everything? The next morning I drove to the airport. Daniel's flight was landing at 2 p.m. I got there early, parked, and sat in the cell phone lot with the evidence folder on my passenger seat. My phone rang. Patricia. Margaret, the FBI, just contacted me. They've located Sarah in Atlanta. She's not at her parents' house. She's at a luxury hotel downtown, registered under the name Jennifer Mitchell. They've got surveillance on her room. Why would she be at a hotel if her parents live in Atlanta? That's what I've been saying. I don't think the people she claims are her parents are actually her parents. I think they might be previous victims or accomplices. The FBI is looking into them now. What's she doing at the hotel? According to surveillance, she's had multiple visitors, men mostly. The FBI thinks she might be running a romance scam operation simultaneously, meeting men online, building relationships, setting up her next targets. I felt sick. While Daniel thought she was his pregnant wife, recovering from the stress of our fight, she was at a hotel setting up her next victims. Does Daniel know she's at a hotel? Not unless she told him. Where does he think she is? He said she's staying with her parents. Then she's lying to him too. Margaret, you need to tell him today. All of it. At 2:15, I watched Daniel walk out of the terminal. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, clothes, rumpled face, gaunt. He climbed into my car without hugging me. Let's just get this over with. I didn't take him home. Instead, I drove to James's office. Daniel noticed immediately. Where are we going? To see James Hutchinson. He has some of the documentation. And there's someone from the FBI who wants to talk to you. Daniel's face went white. The FBI, Mom? What the hell is going on? You'll understand in a few minutes. Please just trust me. At James's office, Patricia was already there. So was a man in a dark suit who introduced himself as Special Agent Marcus Webb from the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. Daniel looked around the room like a trapped animal. Someone tell me what's happening right now. Agent Webb spoke first. Mr. Whitmore, we need to talk to you about Sarah Mitchell, or more accurately, about Sarah Brennan. Who's Sarah Brennan? I opened the folder and slid the first mugshot across the table to Daniel. This is Sarah Brennan, arrested in Florida in 2022 for defrauding an elderly man out of over $400,000. She claimed to be his granddaughter. She wasn't. Daniel stared at the photo. This looks like Sarah, but it's not the same person. Lots of people look similar. Agent Webb slid another document across. Fingerprint analysis. We obtained prints from a wine glass at your mother's house. They match Sarah Elizabeth Brennan's prints in the national database. The woman you know as Sarah Mitchell is actually a wanted fugitive. No, that's impossible. I know Sarah. I'm married to her. We're having a baby. I slid the Texas police report across. Read this. It's about a man named Robert Morrison. Sarah told him she was pregnant too. She wasn't. She faked the entire pregnancy for 2 years while she stole everything he had. Daniel picked up the report with shaking hands. He read slowly, his face growing paler with each paragraph. This says she used prosthetics, fake belly, that she had elaborate stories about doctor appointments but never actually went, that when he finally demanded proof, she disappeared with over $200,000. Keep reading, Patricia said quietly. Look at the dates. She left Texas in January 2024. She met you in March 2024, 2 months later. Daniel's hands started to shake. No. Sarah told me about her childhood, her abusive father, her difficult family. Agent Webb pulled out another file. Sarah Brennan's real father is Marcus Brennan, a used car salesman in Savannah. Her mother is Christine Brennan, a nurse. Both alive, both with no history of abuse. We contacted them this morning. They said their daughter has been in and out of trouble since she was 16. Theft, fraud, manipulation. They haven't spoken to her in 4 years because she stole from them, too. I need to call her. I need to hear her side of this. Daniel, where do you think Sarah is right now? Patricia asked. She's at her parents' house in Atlanta, recovering from the stress my mother caused. Patricia slid her phone across the table, showing surveillance photos. Sarah entering a luxury hotel. Sarah having drinks with an unknown man in the hotel bar. Sarah in the hotel room with another man. Timestamps from yesterday. That's the Ritz-Carlton in downtown Atlanta. She checked in 3 days ago under the name Jennifer Mitchell. She's been meeting with at least 4 different men, all of whom she met on dating apps. She's setting up her next victims while telling you she's devastated and needs space. Daniel stared at the photos. His face crumpled. No, she said she needed time away. She said she was staying with her parents. She lied, I said gently. Daniel, she's been lying about everything. Her name, her background, her pregnancy, all of it. The pregnancy is real. I've seen she shows me pictures on her phone. Stock photos, Agent Webb said. We've run reverse image searches on the ultrasound images she's posted on social media. They're stolen from pregnancy forums. The woman you know as Sarah Mitchell has never been pregnant. Not with you, not with the Texas victim, probably not ever. Daniel stood up abruptly, knocking his chair backward. I need air. I can't. This is too much. He stumbled out of the office. I started to follow, but James put a hand on my arm. Give him a minute. He needs to process. Through the window, I watched my son pace back and forth on the sidewalk, his hands in his hair, his whole body shaking. My heart broke for him. After 10 minutes, he came back inside. His eyes were red. How long have you known? I suspected something was wrong for months. I started investigating seriously about 2 weeks ago when she demanded my bedroom. I found out her real identity 2 days ago. Why didn't you tell me immediately? Would you have believed me? You were so deep in her manipulation, Daniel. You chose her over me repeatedly. I needed ironclad evidence before I came to you. He sat down heavily. I've been so stupid. You've been a victim, Agent Webb corrected. Sarah Brennan is a professional con artist. She's very good at what she does. You're not the first person she's fooled, and you won't be the last unless we stop her. What happens now? Now we need your cooperation. We need you to maintain contact with her like nothing's wrong. We need her to come back to Portland where we can arrest her. If she suspects we're onto her, she'll disappear, and we might not find her for years. Daniel looked at me. Does she know you know? I don't think so. As far as she knows, we had a fight, and you left to support her. She thinks she won. So you want me to lie to her? Pretend everything's fine. We want you to help us catch a dangerous criminal before she hurts anyone else, Agent Webb said. She's destroyed lives, Daniel. Elderly people who died in poverty because she stole their savings. A man who lost his house because he believed her lies about a baby. Your mother could have been next. You could have been left with hundreds of thousands in debt that Sarah racked up in your name. Is that true? Did she open accounts in my name? Patricia slid another document across. Credit check we ran yesterday. You have 4 credit cards you didn't know about. Total balance of $87,000. All opened in the last 3 months using your information. Daniel's face went gray. I never opened those accounts. She did. Using information she gathered from living in your mother's house and having access to your personal documents. If we don't stop her, she'll max those out and you'll be liable for the debt. What do I do? Agent Webb pulled out a phone. We've set up a clean phone for you. You'll call Sarah on this. Tell her you talked to your mother that you're working on fixing the relationship, that you think she should come back to Portland, so you can all sit down together and work things out. Make her think she's still in control. And when she comes back, we'll be waiting. We'll arrest her at the airport or wherever she goes first. You'll be safe, your mother will be safe, and Sarah will finally face consequences for what she's done. Daniel took the phone with shaking hands. What do I say? Agent Webb handed him a script. Something like this. Keep it natural. Remember, she thinks she has you completely fooled. Act like the devoted husband who's trying to fix his family. Daniel looked at the script, then at me. Mom, I'm so sorry. For everything. For not believing you. For choosing her. For letting her treat you that way. I reached across the table and took his hand. You were manipulated by a professional criminal. This isn't your fault. I kicked you out of your own bedroom. I let her throw away Dad's things. I called you selfish and controlling. We'll deal with all of that later. Right now, we need to focus on stopping her before she hurts anyone else." Daniel nodded and dialed the number. We all listened as it rang. "Daniel?" Sarah's voice came through the speaker, sweet and concerned. "Baby, is everything okay?" "Hey, yeah, I'm okay. I'm actually in Portland. I came to talk to Mom." "You did? How did that go?" Her voice had a sharp edge underneath the sweetness. "Better than expected. She apologized for everything. She said she was stressed and scared of losing me, and she reacted badly. She wants to make things right." Silence on the other end. I could almost hear Sarah's mind working. "Really? She apologized?" "Yeah, she even said she wants you to come back. She wants us all to sit down together and figure out a way to make this work. She said she was wrong to question the pregnancy and she wants to be involved with the baby." More silence. "Daniel, I don't know. She really hurt me. I'm not sure I can just forgive and forget." "I know, baby, I know. But she's my mom. And she's trying. She even said she'd consider moving to the guest room permanently if that would make you more comfortable. She wants to meet us halfway." I could practically hear Sarah's greed kicking in. The promise of getting in the bedroom, getting back into the house, getting access to what she thought was my estate. She said that, "Yeah, I think she realized she was being unreasonable. Sarah, I miss you. I want you to come home. I want us to be a family again." "I miss you too. But Daniel, what if she's just saying this to get me back there, and then she goes back to being horrible? Then we'll leave again. But I think she means it this time. She seemed really genuine. Will you at least think about coming back, maybe this weekend?" Another pause. "Let me think about it. I need to make sure I'm emotionally ready. The stress hasn't been good for the baby." Daniel's jaw clenched at the mention of the fake baby, but he kept his voice steady. "Of course. Take whatever time you need. But Sarah, I love you. I believe in us. I think we can make this work." "I love you too, baby. I'll call you tomorrow and let you know about this weekend. Okay? Okay, get some rest." "I will." "Oh, and Daniel, where are you staying tonight?" "At the house, with Mom." "Oh, okay. Well, tell her I said hi." The fakeness in her voice made my skin crawl. After he hung up, Daniel dropped the phone on the table and put his head in his hands. How did I not see it? How did I believe her lies? "Because she's a professional," Agent Webb said. "She's been doing this for years. She knows exactly how to manipulate people, what buttons to push, what stories to tell." What happens now? Now we wait. If she takes the bait and comes back this weekend, we'll be ready. Portland PD will coordinate with us. We'll have surveillance set up. The moment she's on Oregon soil, we can arrest her. And if she doesn't come back, then we'll track her in Atlanta and coordinate with local authorities there. Either way, her days of running are over. James spoke up. "Daniel, in the meantime, we need to protect you legally. Those credit cards she opened, we need to report them as fraud. We need to freeze your credit. We need to make sure she can't do any more financial damage. And we need to secure your mother's property," Patricia added. "Make sure Sarah doesn't have keys, access codes, any way to get into the house without permission." I'd already changed the locks that morning and updated all the security codes, but I didn't mention that. Daniel had enough to process. We spent another 2 hours going over details, making plans, ensuring Daniel understood what he needed to do and say if Sarah contacted him again. By the time we left James's office, it was dark outside. In my car, Daniel was quiet for a long time. "Mom." "Yes." "That Robert Morrison guy in Texas, the one she scammed, did he ever recover?" I'd read his victim statement. I knew the answer. "No. He lost his house, his savings, his dignity. Last I heard, he was living with his daughter and working part-time at 60 years old just to pay off the debt Sarah left him with. And the old man in Florida, Harold Chen. He died 6 months after she disappeared. His real granddaughter said the betrayal broke his heart. He stopped eating, stopped taking his medications. He just gave up." Daniel's voice cracked. "She could have done that to you." "She tried." "How much money did I let her spend? How much debt did she put us in?" "We'll figure that out. The important thing is we stopped her before she could finish what she started." At home, I made dinner while Daniel sat at the kitchen table staring at nothing. He barely touched his food. I need to call work tomorrow. Tell them I need a few days off. I can't think about anything else right now. Take whatever time you need. Mom, can I ask you something? Anything. When did you know? When did you first suspect something was really wrong? I thought about it. Honestly, the first time she came to this house, the way she looked at everything like she was appraising it. But I told myself I was being paranoid. I wanted you to be happy. You tried to warn me in subtle ways, and I didn't listen. She was very convincing. I thought I loved her. I thought we were building a life together. I thought I was going to be a father. His voice broke on the last word. I moved around the table and hugged him. He collapsed against me and cried like he hadn't since he was a little boy. I held him and stroked his hair and let him grieve for the life he thought he had. Later that night, after Daniel had gone to bed in the guest room, my phone rang. Patricia. The FBI just called. Sarah booked a flight to Portland. She's coming back Friday afternoon. She took the bait. Completely. They've already coordinated with Portland PD. They'll arrest her at the airport before she can leave the secure area. What do we tell Daniel? Nothing yet. Let him sleep. He's been through enough today. We'll brief him in the morning about what to expect. Friday morning, Agent Webb came to the house with 2 Portland police detectives. They explained the plan to Daniel. Sarah's flight landed at 3 p.m. They'd have undercover officers throughout the airport. The moment she cleared security and entered the main terminal, they'd make the arrest. Will I have to see her? Daniel asked. Not if you don't want to, Agent Webb said. We can handle everything without you being present. I think I need to be there. I need to see this end. So at 2:30 we drove to the airport. Agent Webb had arranged for us to watch from an airport security office with a view of the terminal. Daniel and I sat in front of monitors showing different camera angles. At 3:15, Sarah's plane landed. At 3:30, passengers started emerging from the security checkpoint. At 3:37, Sarah appeared. She looked beautiful, perfectly put together in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. She had her hand on her stomach in that protective gesture she always used playing the pregnant woman. She pulled out her phone and texted someone. Daniel's phone buzzed. Just landed. Daniel, can you pick me up at Arrivals? Daniel looked at Agent Webb, who nodded. Daniel texted back, on my way. See you in a few. Sarah smiled at her phone. That satisfied, victorious smile I'd seen so many times. She started walking toward the exit, pulling her expensive luggage behind her. Agent Webb spoke into his radio. Target in motion. All units stand by. Sarah was 20 feet from the exit when 4 plainclothes officers surrounded her. Sarah Brennan, FBI. You're under arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, and interstate flight to avoid prosecution. The look on her face was priceless. Shock, then rage, then calculation as she tried to figure out how to talk her way out of it. I don't know what you're talking about. My name is Sarah Whitmore. There's been a mistake. Ma'am, we have fingerprint confirmation. You're Sarah Elizabeth Brennan, wanted in Florida and Texas. You have the right to remain silent. She saw the cameras then, realized she was being watched. Her eyes scanned the area, and for just a second, they locked on the camera we were watching from. It was like she was looking right at us. Then she did something I didn't expect. She put both hands on her stomach and screamed, "The baby! Oh God, the baby! You're stressing me out! I'm pregnant! You can't arrest a pregnant woman!" Agent Webb spoke calmly into his radio. "Have medical standing by. She's going to claim pregnancy complications." Sure enough, Sarah collapsed dramatically. "I'm having contractions. The baby's coming. You're killing my baby." But the officers were professionals. They'd clearly dealt with this before. A female officer knelt beside her. "Ma'am, we have an ambulance standing by. If you're having a medical emergency, we'll transport you to the hospital. But the arrest warrant still stands." "I need my husband. Where's Daniel?" Next to me, Daniel flinched. I put my hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to watch anymore." "Yes, I do. I need to see who she really is." On the screen, Sarah was still performing, crying, clutching her stomach, begging for help. But when one of the officers tried to help her up, she fought back, scratched at his face, tried to run. 2 officers grabbed her arms and cuffed her hands behind her back. The dramatics stopped immediately. This is illegal. I'm being kidnapped. Someone help me. I'm pregnant and they're arresting me. Other travelers stopped to watch. Some filmed on their phones. Sarah played to the crowd. Please, someone call my husband Daniel Whitmore. Tell him they're arresting me. I'm innocent. But the officers were already walking her away toward a secure exit where a police car waited. Daniel watched until she disappeared from the screen. Then he stood up. Is it over? The arrest part is, Agent Webb said. Now comes the legal process. She'll be arraigned probably Monday. The DA will file charges. There'll be a trial unless she pleads guilty. Will I have to testify? Possibly. You're a victim too, Daniel. Those fraudulent credit cards, the money she stole from you and your mother. That all matters. I want to testify. I want her to know she didn't win. We drove home in silence. At the house, Daniel went straight to the guest room. I heard him on the phone, probably calling his boss, his friends, the people who needed to know what had happened. I sat in Robert's chair and let myself feel the weight of everything. Relief that it was over. Sadness for my son's pain. Anger at what Sarah had almost done to us. My phone buzzed. A text from James. I heard they got her. Well done, Margaret. Robert would be proud. Another text from Patricia. She's being held without bail. Flight risk. You're safe now. Safe. I was safe. Daniel was safe. Sarah couldn't hurt us anymore, but the damage she'd done would take time to heal. Later that evening, Daniel emerged from the guest room. He looked exhausted, but calmer. Mom, can we talk? Of course. We sat in the living room. He looked around at the space where Sarah had tried to erase our family's history. I need to say some things, and I need you to let me say them without interrupting. Can you do that? I nodded. I've been a terrible son. I let a stranger come between us. I chose her over you repeatedly. I kicked you out of your own bedroom in your own house. I let her throw away Dad's things. I called you selfish and controlling when you were trying to protect me. I blamed you for being cautious when you were being smart. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. Tears ran down his face. And the worst part is, you saved me. You could have just protected yourself and let me figure it out on my own. But you spent money and time and emotional energy investigating her, building a case, making sure I'd believe you when you finally told me the truth. You saved me from making an even bigger mistake. And I don't deserve that. I don't deserve you. I reached across and took his hand. Daniel, you're my son. Of course you deserve it. Of course I was going to save you. But how can you forgive me after everything I did? Because I love you. Because you were manipulated by an expert. Because you're sitting here now taking responsibility, trying to make things right. That's all I ever wanted. He squeezed my hand. I want to make this right. I want to pay you back for everything she spent. I want to fix the damage. I want to be the son Dad raised me to be. We'll work on it together, one step at a time. Can I stay here? While I figure things out, I'll pay rent like you wanted. I'll follow whatever rules you set. I don't want to be alone right now. You can stay as long as you need. We'll figure out the details later. That night, I slept better than I had in months. My house was secure. My son was safe. Sarah was in jail where she belonged. But I knew this wasn't really the end. It was just the beginning of a different chapter. Daniel would need therapy to process the manipulation. We'd need to rebuild our relationship. There would be court dates and testimony and reliving everything that had happened, but we'd face it together. And somewhere in Texas and Florida, maybe Robert Morrison and Harold Chen's family would finally get some measure of justice, knowing that Sarah Brennan had finally been caught. Justice. That's what Robert had always believed in. That's what he'd taught Daniel to value. And now finally, justice had been served. I woke up Saturday morning to the smell of coffee brewing. For a moment I thought I was dreaming. Then I heard movement in the kitchen and remembered Daniel was home. Really home, not just visiting between lies. I found him at the stove making scrambled eggs wearing Robert's old bathrobe that I'd kept in the back of the closet. Morning, Mom. I hope you don't mind. I found this and it still smells like Dad's cologne. My throat tightened. I don't mind at all. He plated the eggs and we sat at the kitchen table together. Real conversation, no Sarah manipulating every word. It felt like finding something I'd lost years ago. I called my boss yesterday, Daniel said. Told him I needed 2 weeks off. Family emergency. He was understanding. That's good. I also called the credit card companies about those fraudulent accounts. They're investigating, but it might take months to clear. In the meantime, I'm liable for the debt. We'll figure it out. Together. He nodded, pushing eggs around his plate. Agent Webb called this morning. Sarah's arraignment is Monday at 10 a.m. He wants to know if I'll be there. Do you want to be? I don't know. Part of me wants to see her face when they read the charges. Part of me never wants to see her again. You don't have to decide right now. My phone rang. Patricia. Margaret, we have a problem. Sarah made bail. I felt ice flood my veins. How Agent Webb said she was being held without bail because she's a flight risk. Her lawyer argued she's pregnant and needs medical care that the jail can't provide. The judge ordered a pregnancy test. She somehow passed it. That's impossible. She's not pregnant. I know, but she produced a positive pregnancy test in court this morning. Emergency Saturday arraignment. The judge reduced bail to $50,000. Someone posted it an hour ago. Daniel had gone white. She's out. She's free. For now, Patricia said. But there are conditions. Ankle monitor can't leave the state, has to surrender her passport. She's not going anywhere. Who posted her bail? I asked. That's the interesting part. A man named Marcus Chen from Pensacola, Florida. The name hit me. Harold Chen's son, the victim from Florida. That's what I thought too, but this Marcus Chen is 32 years old. Harold Chen's son is 58. Different person. So who is he? I'm working on it. But Margaret, you need to be careful. Sarah knows Daniel was involved in her arrest. She's going to be angry. After Patricia hung up, Daniel stood and started pacing. She's out there. She knows I betrayed her. What if she comes here? What if she tries to hurt you? The security system is upgraded. Police are monitoring the situation. We're safe. You don't know her like I thought I did. She's capable of anything. He was right to be worried. At 11 a.m., my doorbell rang. We both froze. Daniel checked the security camera. It's a woman, not Sarah. Someone older. I looked at the screen. A woman in her 50s, well-dressed, holding a manila envelope. I opened the door with the chain still on. Mrs. Whitmore, my name is Linda Morrison. I need to talk to you about Sarah Brennan. Linda Morrison, the name from the Texas case. I let her in. She sat in the living room, envelope clutched in her lap, looking exhausted. I saw the news about Sarah's arrest. I'd been waiting 3 years for this. When I heard she was in Portland, I flew out immediately. You're related to Robert Morrison, the victim from Texas. He was my brother. Sarah destroyed him. He lost everything because of her lies. And when she left, when he realized there was never a baby, that she'd been faking it the whole time he tried to kill himself. Daniel made a strangled sound. Linda looked at him. You must be Daniel. I'm sorry. I know this is hard to hear, but you need to understand who she really is. He survived, I asked gently. Barely. He's in a facility now. Early onset dementia. The doctors say the stress accelerated it. He's 57 years old and he doesn't remember who I am half the time. She opened the envelope and pulled out photographs. This is what Sarah left behind. The photos showed a man who looked 70, not 57. Hollow eyes, gaunt face broken. This was taken 6 months after she left. He'd lost 60 pounds, stopped bathing, stopped paying bills. I had to get conservatorship just to keep him from losing the last of what she hadn't taken. Daniel stared at the photos. I could have ended up like this. You would have, Linda said bluntly. Sarah doesn't stop until there's nothing left to take. But you're lucky. You have a mother who fought for you. Robert didn't have anyone until it was too late. Why are you here? I asked. Because I want to testify at her trial. I want the jury to see what she did to my brother. And I want to warn you that she won't go quietly. When she got arrested in Texas, she claimed pregnancy to get sympathy. When that didn't work, she claimed I'd fabricated evidence because I was jealous of her relationship with Robert. She's going to try everything to avoid prison. The FBI has solid evidence. Fingerprints, financial records, victim statements from multiple states. Evidence doesn't matter if the jury believes her sob story. Sarah's very good at playing the victim. She'll cry about her difficult childhood, her abusive ex-boyfriends, how everyone's always been against her. She'll make them feel sorry for her. Daniel's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and his face went gray. "It's her. Sarah, she's texting me." "Don't respond," Linda said immediately. But Daniel was already reading the message aloud. "Daniel, please. I know you're confused. I know what they're telling you, but it's all lies. I love you. I love our baby. Please, just talk to me. Give me a chance to explain." Another text came through. "I'm staying at the Marriott downtown, room 412. Please come see me. Just you and me. We can work this out." "She's baiting you," I said. "Don't go." "I have to. I need to hear what she has to say." "Daniel, no. It's too dangerous." "Mom, I'm not stupid. I know what she is now, but I need closure. I need to look her in the eye and hear her try to explain the unexplainable." Linda leaned forward. "If you go record everything. Oregon's a one-party consent state. Get her to admit things on tape. It could help the prosecution." Agent Webb arrived 30 minutes later with recording equipment. He tried to talk Daniel out of going, but eventually agreed to wire him and have agents nearby. "You wear this," Webb said, attaching a small device under Daniel's shirt. "It'll record everything and transmit to us in real time. If at any point you feel unsafe, you say the phrase, 'I need some air,' and we come in immediately. Understand?" Daniel nodded, looking pale but determined. "And remember, she's going to try to manipulate you. She'll cry, she'll claim she's the victim. She'll say anything to make you doubt what you know is true. Don't fall for it." I wanted to stop him, wanted to lock the doors and keep my son safe. But he was right. He needed this closure. At 3 p.m., Daniel drove to the Marriott. I sat in Agent Webb's surveillance van with Patricia and 2 other agents listening through headphones as Daniel rode the elevator to the 4th floor. We heard him knock on room 412. Sarah's voice came through soft and sweet. "Daniel, you came. I wasn't sure you would. Can I come in?" "Of course, please." The door closed, rustling sounds. Then Sarah's voice again, closer now. "I've missed you so much. These past few days have been hell. Being arrested, thrown in jail, treated like a criminal when I haven't done anything wrong. Sarah, they have evidence, fingerprints, financial records, victim statements from Florida and Texas. It's all a mistake, a case of mistaken identity. Yes, my name used to be Sarah Brennan, but I changed it legally when I left my abusive family. That's not a crime. And those people claiming I stole from them, they're lying. They're trying to ruin my life because I wouldn't give them what they wanted." "What about the pregnancy? The Texas police report says you faked being pregnant for 2 years. Her voice broke, tears evident. "That's the most hurtful lie of all. I was pregnant. I had a miscarriage, and I was devastated. That man, Robert Morrison, he didn't believe me. He accused me of lying just like your mother did. It broke my heart, so I left. Is that a crime, leaving someone who won't believe you?" "Sarah, the fingerprints don't lie. You're Sarah Elizabeth Brennan. You're wanted in 2 states for fraud. Those charges are fabricated. My ex-boyfriend in Florida, he was abusive. When I left him, he made up stories about me stealing from his father. It's all revenge because I wouldn't stay with someone who hurt me." Agent Webb spoke in my ear. "She's good. Even knowing she's lying, she almost sounds believable." Daniel's voice was steady. "Then explain the credit cards, the ones you opened in my name without my knowledge. $87,000 in debt." Silence for a long moment. "I was going to tell you about those. I opened them because we needed money. You weren't making enough to support us and the baby. I was trying to help. By committing fraud in my name, by taking care of our family, Daniel, everything I did was for us, for our future. And your mother, she's poisoned you against me. She's always hated me. She never wanted you to be happy with anyone but her. My mother saved me from a con artist. Is that what she told you? Daniel, look at me. Really look at me. Do I look like some criminal? I'm your wife. I'm carrying your baby. How can you believe these lies? Prove the pregnancy right now. Let's go to a hospital and get an ultrasound. I don't have to prove anything. The fact that you'd even ask shows how much your mother has corrupted you. I can't believe you'd choose her over your own family. You're not my family. You're a stranger I thought I knew." Her voice changed harder now. "You'll regret this, Daniel. When you're old and alone because you chose a bitter, controlling mother over a wife who loved you, you'll regret it." "Is that a threat?" It's a prediction. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. The biggest mistake was believing anything you said. We're done, Sarah. When this trial is over, I'm filing for divorce. Divorce? We're married. You made vows. Vows based on lies. Everything about you was a lie. Something crashed. Glass breaking. You can't leave me. I won't let you. Everything I've done, everything I've sacrificed, it was for us. Agent Webb spoke into his radio. All units stand by. This could escalate. Daniel's voice was calm. What did you sacrifice, Sarah? Other people's money, other people's trust, their lives. You don't understand. I had to survive. My family threw me out when I was 16. I had nothing. Nobody. I learned to take what I needed because nobody was going to give it to me. So you became a thief and a con artist. I became a survivor, and I was good at it until your bitch mother started investigating me. Don't talk about my mother. Why not? She's the reason we're in this mess. If she'd just died like she was supposed to, we'd have everything. The house, the money, the perfect life. My blood went cold. Agent Webb grabbed his radio. Daniel's voice was shaking. Like she was supposed to, what does that mean? Silence. Then Sarah laughed bitter and sharp. Nothing. Forget I said anything. No. Tell me what you meant. It doesn't matter now. Your mother won. She gets to keep her precious house and her precious son. I get nothing. Sarah, what did you plan to do to my mother? I said, forget it. More crashing sounds. Daniel's voice was urgent. I need some air. I need to get out of here. Agent Webb barked into the radio. All units go now. Through the headphones, I heard the hotel room door slam open. Multiple voices shouting, FBI hands where we can see them. Sarah screaming, get away from me. He attacked me. Daniel attacked me and you're arresting me. This is insane. Ma'am, step away from the broken lamp. Put your hands behind your back. I'm pregnant. You can't treat me like this. I'm having contractions. The stress is killing my baby. Agent Webb shook his head. Same performance, different day. 5 minutes later, Daniel appeared at the van. His shirt was torn and he had a scratch on his face. Are you okay? I grabbed him, checking for injuries. She threw a lamp at me when I tried to leave, missed by inches. Mom, she said you were supposed to die. What did she mean? Agent Webb pulled out his phone. I'm getting a warrant to search her hotel room right now. If she was planning something against your mother, there might be evidence. Linda Morrison, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner of the van, spoke up. She tried to kill Robert too, or at least we think she did. He got food poisoning 3 times in the month before she left. Doctors never could figure out what caused it. After she disappeared, we found rat poison in the garage. Robert said he'd never bought rat poison. I felt sick. You think she was slowly poisoning him? I think when she realized he was getting suspicious about the pregnancy, she tried to kill him and make it look natural. But he's stubborn. He survived. So she just took the money and ran instead. Daniel's hands were shaking. She could have killed you, Mom. If you hadn't figured out who she was, if you'd just let her stay in the house, she could have slowly poisoned you, and I never would have known. But I did figure it out. We're safe now. 2 hours later, Agent Webb returned from Sarah's hotel room with evidence bags. We found a laptop with files about your mother, bank account information, property records, copies of her will from before James changed it. Sarah had been planning this for months. And we found something else. He held up a small bottle. Antifreeze, hidden in her suitcase. The medical examiner says small doses over time can mimic natural illness in elderly people. Heart problems, kidney failure. Hard to detect if you're not looking for it. Daniel's face crumpled. She was going to kill you. She was actually going to murder you. Attempted murder is much harder to prove, Webb said. She'll claim the antifreeze was for her car, that the files about your mother were just curiosity. But combined with Linda's testimony about Robert's mysterious illnesses and the Texas victim's similar experience, it establishes pattern of behavior. Will it be enough to convict her? On the fraud charges, absolutely. The evidence is overwhelming. On attempted murder, that's trickier. But it'll definitely factor into sentencing. My phone rang. James. Margaret, I just heard from the prosecutor's office. They want to add charges of conspiracy to commit elder abuse and attempted fraud against you specifically. They need you to testify about everything that happened. Are you willing? Yes. Absolutely yes. Over the next few weeks, I gave statements to police prosecutors and FBI agents. I turned over all my documentation, all the evidence I'd gathered during those terrible 6 months. Every receipt, every photo, every recording. Daniel did the same, painful as it was, to relive the manipulation and lies. Linda Morrison provided testimony about her brother Robert and the similarities between what Sarah had done to him and what she'd tried to do to us. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Catherine Mills, called me into her office 3 weeks before the trial. I want to be honest with you, Mrs. Whitmore. Sarah's defense attorney is claiming she's a victim herself. Abused childhood, bad relationships, forced into desperate circumstances. They're going to try to make the jury sympathize with her. She's lying about the childhood. Her real parents are normal people who she stole from. I know. We have the Brennans flying in to testify. But Sarah's lawyer is also claiming the pregnancy is real and that the stress of prosecution is endangering the baby. She's not pregnant. She's never been pregnant. We have evidence suggesting that, but she keeps passing pregnancy tests. We think she's somehow obtaining pregnant women's urine, but we can't prove it. The judge has ordered a medical examination, but her lawyer is fighting it on privacy grounds. So she might get sympathy for being a pregnant defendant when the pregnancy is completely fake. It's possible. That's why your testimony is so crucial. You're credible, you're sympathetic, and you have extensive documentation of her behavior. The jury needs to see you as the real victim here, not Sarah. The trial began on a cold Monday in November. The courthouse was packed with media-curious onlookers and victims from Sarah's past. Linda Morrison was there. Marcus Chen from Florida, who I learned was actually Harold Chen's nephew, not his son seeking justice for his uncle. A woman named Jennifer Davis from Arizona, who'd come forward after seeing news of the arrest claiming Sarah had scammed her out of $50,000 4 years ago. Sarah arrived looking nothing like the glamorous woman who'd lived in my house. She wore a simple dress with a high neckline, minimal makeup, her hair pulled back. She had a visible baby bump now, clearly a prosthetic, but convincing enough from a distance. She cried when they read the charges, actual tears streaming down her face. Daniel sat next to me in the gallery. His jaw was clenched so tight I worried he'd crack a tooth. "Look at her perform," he whispered. "She's loving this attention." The prosecution's opening statement was devastating. Catherine Mills laid out Sarah's entire pattern of behavior. The victims, the stolen money, the fake pregnancies, the cold calculation of it all. Sarah's defense attorney, a slick man named Richard Chen, no relation to the victims, argued that his client was a troubled woman who'd made mistakes but wasn't the monster the prosecution portrayed. She'd had a difficult life. She'd been in survival mode. She'd fallen in love with Daniel genuinely and only tried to secure a future for their baby. The first week of trial focused on the Florida case. Harold Chen's nephew testified about finding his uncle's accounts drained. Bank records showed Sarah had systematically stolen over $400,000 over 8 months. Sarah's lawyer claimed Harold Chen had given her the money willingly, that she genuinely believed she was his granddaughter based on things he'd told her. But the prosecution had DNA evidence. Sarah had no biological relation to Harold Chen. She'd researched his family, found out he had a granddaughter he hadn't seen in years, and impersonated her. The jury looked skeptical of the defense. The second week focused on Robert Morrison's case. Linda testified about her brother's decline, his mysterious illnesses, the rat poison found in the garage. My brother was a healthy, 55-year-old man before Sarah entered his life. After 2 years with her, he was broken, mentally, physically, financially, destroyed. She didn't just steal his money, she stole his dignity, his sanity, his will to live. Sarah cried during this testimony. Her lawyer objected repeatedly, but the jury was paying close attention. On the 10th day of trial, I was called to testify. Catherine Mills walked me through everything. Meeting Sarah for the first time, watching her gradually take over my house, the bedroom ultimatum, my investigation, finding out her real identity. "Mrs. Whitmore, why did you investigate your daughter-in-law instead of just accepting what she told you?" "Because I'm a forensic accountant. I spent 30 years investigating fraud. I know what manipulation looks like, and Sarah displayed every red flag I'd ever learned to recognize. Can you elaborate? She isolated my son from me. She created financial dependency. She manufactured a crisis, the pregnancy, to cement her position. She systematically erased my husband's memory from our home. She made increasingly aggressive demands while playing the victim whenever confronted. These are textbook manipulation tactics. Sarah's lawyer objected. The witness is not a psychologist qualified to diagnose manipulation. Sustained, the judge said, but the jury had heard it. Catherine pulled out the evidence I'd gathered. The photos of my damaged property. The receipts showing $22,000 in expenses. The recordings of Sarah's party where her friends mocked me. Did you ever confront Sarah about this behavior? Multiple times. She either denied it, made excuses, or turned it around to make me the problem. When I asked for proof of her pregnancy so I could plan appropriately for my grandchild, she claimed I was harassing her and left with my son. What did you think when you discovered Sarah Brennan's real identity? I was terrified. Not for myself, but for Daniel. I realized he was in danger from a career criminal who'd destroyed lives before his. I knew I had to act fast before she finished what she'd started. What do you believe she'd started, Mrs. Whitmore? I looked directly at Sarah. She stared back, her face blank. I believe she planned to either coerce me into signing over my property before killing me, or to simply wait for me to die naturally and inherit everything through Daniel. When I became an obstacle instead of a victim, she tried to manipulate Daniel into forcing me out so she could continue her con. Objection, speculation. I'll rephrase, Catherine said. Mrs. Whitmore, what evidence do you have of Sarah's intentions? The files found on her laptop with my financial information. The antifreeze found in her possession. The fact that she researched my estate value and contacted my attorney under false pretenses. The pattern of her previous victims, who all experienced mysterious illnesses before she disappeared with their money. The courtroom was silent. No further questions. Sarah's lawyer approached for cross-examination. He smiled at me, friendly and patronizing. Mrs. Whitmore, isn't it true that you never liked Sarah from the moment you met her? That's not accurate. I wanted to like her. I wanted my son to be happy. But you just admitted you saw red flags immediately. Sounds like you'd made up your mind about her from day one. I saw concerning behaviors. That's different from disliking someone. You're a wealthy woman, aren't you, Mrs. Whitmore, worth several $million? I'm comfortable. And your son Daniel didn't know about this wealth, did he? No. Because you chose to deceive him about your financial situation. I chose to protect my assets from potential exploitation. So, you lied to your own son, but you expect this jury to believe Sarah was the dishonest one? I maintained privacy about my finances. Sarah created an entirely false identity and criminal history. Isn't it possible that you saw Sarah as a threat to your inheritance plans and manufactured this entire investigation to drive her away from your son? No. Everything I discovered about Sarah is documented and verified by law enforcement. But you started investigating her before you had any real evidence of wrongdoing, didn't you? You hired a private investigator to spy on your son's wife. I hired an investigator after 6 months of concerning behavior and after being given an ultimatum to leave my own bedroom. An ultimatum that any reasonable person might see as a pregnant woman needing space. A reasonable person would question a pregnancy that had no medical verification. He kept pushing, trying to make me look like a controlling mother who couldn't let go of her son. But I'd testified in court before many times in my career. I knew how to stay calm, stick to facts, avoid emotional reactions. After 2 hours of cross-examination, he gave up. No further questions. As I left the witness stand, I caught Daniel's eye. He nodded, slightly proud. The trial continued for another week. Daniel testified about Sarah's manipulation, about discovering her lies about the hotel room confrontation where she'd thrown a lamp at him. Patricia testified about her investigation and what she'd discovered about Sarah's pattern of behavior. Agent Webb testified about the arrest and the evidence found in Sarah's hotel room. Then came the defense's case. Sarah took the stand looking small and vulnerable in her modest dress and fake baby bump. Her lawyer asked gentle questions. She cried through most of her testimony. "I know I've made mistakes," she said, dabbing at her eyes. "I changed my name to escape an abusive family. I've had bad relationships with men who used me. When I met Daniel, I thought I'd finally found real love. I thought his mother would be happy for us. Instead, she saw me as competition." "Did you steal from Harold Chen?" "No. He gave me money because he wanted to help me. He told me I reminded him of his granddaughter. When his real family showed up, they convinced him I'd tricked him. It broke my heart." "Did you fake a pregnancy with Robert Morrison?" "No, I was pregnant. I miscarried. He didn't believe me just like Margaret didn't believe me. It's a pattern of people not trusting me because of my past." "Are you pregnant now?" "Yes, with Daniel's baby, our son. I know he doesn't believe me right now because his mother has poisoned him against me, but it's true." "Why did you have antifreeze in your hotel room?" "My car was having problems. I bought it to top off the coolant. I had no idea it could be used to hurt someone." "Did you plan to harm Margaret Whitmore?" "Never. I loved her as a mother. All I wanted was to be part of their family." Catherine Mills' cross-examination was brutal. "Ms. Brennan, you testified that Harold Chen gave you money willingly. Why then did you drain his accounts after he was hospitalized and unable to consent?" I needed money for bills. I thought he'd want me to use it." "Without his permission, without even asking his family?" "I was scared. I didn't think clearly." You also testified that you were genuinely pregnant with Robert Morrison's child and miscarried. Do you have any medical records of this pregnancy or miscarriage? "I know. I didn't go to a doctor. Not once during an entire pregnancy, not even for a miscarriage that you claim devastated you. I was scared of doctors." "But you've claimed to be pregnant 3 separate times with 3 different men, and you've never produced a single piece of medical evidence for any of these pregnancies. Isn't that convenient?" Objection argumentative. Withdrawn. Ms. Brennan, you claim you're currently pregnant with Daniel Whitmore's child. Will you consent to a medical examination to verify this pregnancy? Sarah's face went pale. "That's invasive and unnecessary. It's a simple ultrasound. If you're really pregnant, it would prove you're telling the truth." "I don't have to prove anything. My body, my choice." "So you refuse to provide any evidence that this pregnancy is real?" "I refuse to let you violate my privacy." Catherine smiled. No further questions. The closing arguments were powerful on both sides. Sarah's lawyer painted her as a troubled woman who'd made mistakes but didn't deserve to be destroyed. Catherine painted her as a predator who'd systematically ruined lives and would continue doing so unless stopped. The jury deliberated for 3 days. On the 4th day, we got the call. Verdict was in. The courtroom was packed again. Sarah sat at the defense table, hand on her fake belly, crying quietly. The jury foreman stood. "In the case of the state versus Sarah Elizabeth Brennan on the count of wire fraud in Florida, how do you find her guilty?" Sarah gasped. "On the count of identity theft in Florida, how do you find Paul guilty? On the count of wire fraud in Texas, how do you find guilty? On the count of identity theft in Texas, how do you find guilty? On the count of conspiracy to commit fraud in Oregon, how do you find Paul guilty? On the count of identity theft in Oregon, how do you find Paul guilty? Guilty on all 23 counts." Sarah collapsed, wailing. Her lawyer tried to comfort her, but she pushed him away, screaming, "This is wrong. I'm innocent. I'm pregnant and you're sending me to prison. You're killing my baby." The judge banged his gavel. "Order Ms. Brennan, control yourself, or you'll be removed from the courtroom." But Sarah kept screaming, kept performing her breakdown. It took 3 bailiffs to restrain her and carry her out, still shrieking about her baby. Daniel sat next to me, tears streaming down his face. Not sad tears. Relief. "It's over," he whispered. "It's finally over." Sentencing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. Catherine Mills warned us that Sarah would likely get between 15 and 25 years. With her pattern of behavior and the number of victims, the judge will likely go for the higher end. She won't be eligible for parole for at least 10 years. "What about the pregnancy?" I asked. The judge ordered a medical examination before sentencing. If she's really pregnant, it might affect the sentence. But between you and me, I don't think there's a baby. I think when they examine her, they'll find a prosthetic and it'll add perjury charges." She was right. 3 weeks before sentencing, Sarah was examined by a court-appointed physician. No pregnancy, no baby, just an elaborate prosthetic belly and years of practiced deception. Additional charges were filed for lying under oath. At sentencing, the judge allowed victim impact statements. Linda Morrison spoke about her brother still in a facility, mind destroyed by stress Sarah had caused. Harold Chen's nephew spoke about his uncle who died believing his granddaughter had betrayed him. Jennifer Davis from Arizona spoke about the $50,000 Sarah had stolen money Jennifer had saved for her daughter's college education. Daniel spoke last. Sarah Brennan didn't just steal money from people. She stole their dignity, their trust, their ability to believe in human goodness. She targeted the vulnerable, the lonely, the people who just wanted connection and family. She found their weaknesses and exploited them without mercy. My mother almost became another victim. I almost helped her do it because I was so thoroughly manipulated I couldn't see the truth. Sarah is dangerous not just because she's a thief, but because she's so good at making people believe her lies. She needs to be in prison, not just as punishment, but to protect every other person she might target. The judge listened to everything. Then he looked at Sarah. "Ms. Brennan, you've shown no remorse throughout this trial. You've continued to lie even when caught. You've manipulated every person who tried to help you. I've seen many criminals in my courtroom, but few as calculating and cold as you. Therefore, I'm sentencing you to the maximum allowable under federal guidelines, 25 years in federal prison without possibility of parole for 12 years. Additional 5 years for perjury to run consecutively. You will serve 30 years total." Sarah screamed, jumped up from her chair, tried to run. Bailiffs tackled her, dragged her out as she shrieked about injustice and persecution. In the hallway outside, Daniel hugged me tight. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for saving me. You're my son. I'll always fight for you." That night back at home, we had dinner together. Just us. No lies, no manipulation, no fake belly getting in the way. "I've been thinking," Daniel said, "about everything that happened, about how I let her come between us, about Dad and what he would think. Your father would be proud of you. You made mistakes, but you owned them. You chose truth over comfortable lies. That takes courage. I want to make things right, really right. I want to pay you back for everything she spent. I want to repair the damage, and I want to go to therapy to figure out how I got so lost. I think therapy is a great idea. As for the money, we'll work it out. You're already paying rent and contributing to expenses. That's enough for now." "The rental agreement you wanted. I'd like to sign it officially, with the terms you set. I want clear boundaries and expectations." So we did. $3,000 a month rent, shared utilities, respect for each other's space, clear house rules, everything in writing, everything official. It felt good to have structure, to have clarity. Over the next few months, Daniel threw himself into therapy and rebuilding his life. He worked through the manipulation, the guilt, the shame of being deceived. I worked through my own trauma, the fear I'd lived with for months, the anger at seeing my son used, the grief of watching Robert's memory almost erased. We both healed slowly together. 6 months after the trial, Daniel came home from work with news. "I got a promotion, 20% raise, and Mom, I've saved enough to start paying you back. Here's the first installment." He handed me a check for $5,000. "Daniel, you don't have to do this all at once." "Yes, I do. You spent $22,000 supporting me while I was too blind to see what was happening. I'm going to pay back every penny. It might take a few years, but I'll do it. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us. We survived something that destroys families. We came out stronger." He was right. We had survived. Sarah Brennan had tried to tear us apart, to destroy what Robert and I had built, to erase our family's history. But she'd failed, because I'd fought back, because I'd refused to be a victim, because I'd used every skill I had to protect my son and myself. And now, sitting in our home, eating dinner together, laughing about Daniel's terrible cooking attempts, planning our future, I knew Robert would be proud. We'd honored his memory, not by clinging to the past, but by fighting for our future. Sarah was in prison, where she belonged. Daniel was healing and growing stronger every day. Our home was truly ours again. And I had my son back. That was worth more than all the money Sarah had tried to steal, worth more than all the pain she'd caused. We'd won. Not because we'd destroyed her, but because we'd refused to let her destroy us. And that, I thought as I watched Daniel laugh at something silly on TV, was the best revenge of all. 3 months after Sarah's sentencing, I thought we'd finally found peace. Then the letters started arriving. The first one came on a Tuesday, plain white envelope with a prison return address. I almost threw it away without opening it, but Daniel saw it first. "It's from her, from Sarah." My stomach dropped. "Don't read it. Just throw it away." But he'd already torn it open. His face went pale as he read. "She says she's sorry, that she's had time to think in prison and realizes what she did was wrong. She wants to apologize to both of us. She says she's found God and wants to make amends." I took the letter from him. Sarah's handwriting was neat, almost childlike. The words were carefully chosen, dripping with contrition and religious language. "It's another manipulation," I said. "She's working an angle." "I know. But part of me wonders if people can really change. If prison could actually make her see what she did." "Daniel, she faked pregnancy 3 times. She poisoned people. She stole hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not someone who suddenly finds redemption after 3 months in prison." He nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. That's what Sarah was counting on. That tiny part of him that still wanted to believe in the woman he thought he'd married. The letters kept coming, one every week, each more elaborate than the last. Sarah wrote about her childhood, claiming now that her parents had been emotionally abusive, even if not physically. She wrote about being scared and alone as a teenager. She wrote about making mistakes and hurting people and being genuinely sorry. "She's been in therapy," Daniel said, reading the 5th letter. "She says the therapist is helping her understand why she did what she did. She says she wants to start a victim compensation fund when she gets out to pay back everyone she hurt. When she gets out in 30 years at age 62, she's going to start a compensation fund. Daniel, listen to yourself. She's playing you again." "Maybe I should visit her, hear her out in person." "Absolutely not." "Mom, I'm 29 years old. You can't tell me what to do." "No, but I can tell you that walking into that prison gives her exactly what she wants. Access to you, a chance to work her magic in person." We argued about it for days. Finally, Daniel agreed to talk to his therapist before making any decisions. Dr. Reeves called me the next week. "Mrs. Whitmore, Daniel gave me permission to speak with you. I'm concerned about these letters from Sarah. They show classic signs of continued manipulation. Love bombing, false vulnerability, playing the victim while subtly making it about Daniel's feelings. Can you convince him not to visit her?" "I can guide him, but ultimately it's his choice. However, I recommended that if he does visit, he should go with someone else present, preferably you or Agent Webb, never alone." But Sarah was clever. Her next letter specifically asked Daniel to come alone. "I know your mother won't approve," she wrote. "I know she'll try to stop you. But Daniel, I need you to hear this from me, just you and me, the way we used to talk. I need you to look in my eyes and see that I've changed. Please, give me this one chance to apologize face to face." Daniel showed me the letter with his jaw set. "I'm going." "Then I'm coming with you." She asked me to come alone. "And you're going to do what your convicted felon ex-wife asks Daniel, think about what you're saying. One visit, Mom, one conversation. Then I'll have closure and I can move on." I called Agent Webb. He agreed to escort Daniel to the prison and observe the visit from the security room. "She can't hurt him in a monitored visiting room," Webb said. "But I don't like it. She's planning something." The visit was scheduled for Saturday morning. I drove Daniel to the federal prison 2 hours away, Webb following in his own car. The prison was a bleak concrete building surrounded by razor wire and guard towers. "Last chance to change your mind," I said. "I have to do this." Webb walked us through security. Daniel had to leave everything behind: wallet, phone, keys. They searched him thoroughly before allowing him into the visiting area. I waited in the lobby with Webb watching on a security monitor as Daniel sat at a small table in a room filled with other inmates and their visitors. Then Sarah appeared. She looked different. Prison jumpsuit instead of designer clothes, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup. She looked younger, more vulnerable. She saw Daniel and tears immediately filled her eyes. She rushed to the table and reached for his hands. He pulled back. "Hi, Daniel. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would." "I'm here. Say what you need to say." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything I did to you and your mother. I was sick. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. The lying, the stealing, the manipulation. I was sick, and I hurt people, and I deserve to be here." Daniel's face was unreadable. "You faked a pregnancy. You tried to poison my mother." I know, and it makes me sick to think about. The pregnancy, I wanted it to be real so badly that I convinced myself it was. I know that's not an excuse, but it's the truth. And your mother, I never actually tried to poison her. I had the antifreeze for my car. The prosecution made it sound worse than it was. Sarah, they found files on your laptop about her estate, her will, her bank accounts. You were planning something. She looked down, tears streaming. I wanted security. I wanted to know we'd be taken care of. But I swear I never would have hurt her. I just wanted to know what would happen to us in the future. By researching how to kill someone with antifreeze. That was just internet searches. I was curious about the case in Texas, about what they said I did to that man. I never planned to actually do it. Webb spoke in my ear through the headset he'd given me. She's lying. The search history was specific. How much antifreeze to use, how long it takes to work, whether it shows up in autopsies. That's not curiosity. On screen, Sarah leaned forward. Daniel, I know you probably hate me. I know I destroyed what we had. But I need you to know that what I felt for you was real. Maybe I came into your life for the wrong reasons, but I did fall in love with you. That was real. Was any of it real? Your name, your background, your feelings? Or was it all just another con? My feelings were real. Everything else I had to lie about because I was ashamed. My real past, my real family, the mistakes I made. I thought if you knew the truth, you'd never love me. So you lied instead and expected that to work. I know it was wrong. I know that now. But Daniel, people can change. I'm changing. I'm in therapy. I'm taking classes. I'm trying to become someone better. And I thought maybe if I changed enough someday you could forgive me. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. What do you want from me, Sarah? Just forgiveness. I don't expect us to get back together. I don't expect you to wait for me. I just need to know that someday you won't hate me. I don't hate you. I pity you. Her face hardened for just a second. I saw it even through the grainy security footage. Then the mask slipped back on. I understand. I deserve that. But Daniel, there's something else I need to tell you. Something important. What? She looked around as if making sure no one else was listening. I have information about people who are still out there doing what I did, worse than what I did, and I want to help the FBI catch them. But I'll only talk to you about it. Daniel frowned. Why me? Why not Agent Webb or the prosecutor? Because I trust you. Because you knew me better than anyone. Because you'll know if I'm telling the truth. Sarah, if you have information about other criminals, you should tell the authorities directly. I will. But I need you to be there. I need you to vouch for me to tell them I'm being honest. Please, Daniel. This is my chance to do something good to help people. Don't take that away from me. Webb swore in my ear. That's the play. She's trying to get ongoing access to him under the guise of cooperation. Daniel stood up. If you have real information, tell Agent Webb. He's here today. I'll tell him you want to talk to him. But Sarah, I'm not going to be your intermediary. I'm not going to be your connection to the outside world. Daniel, please, don't go. I haven't seen you in months. Can we just talk for a few more minutes? There's nothing left to say. What about your mother? Is she okay? I know she probably hates me, but I hope she's doing well." The sudden topic change was jarring. Daniel paused. "My mother is fine, better than fine. She's back to her normal life." "That's good, that's really good. I'm glad she's okay." Sarah wiped her eyes. "Does she still live in that beautiful house?" "Why does that matter?" "It doesn't. I just have good memories of that house, of being there with you, before everything went wrong." "You mean before you got caught?" "No, I mean before I let my sickness hurt people I cared about." She reached across the table again. This time Daniel let her touch his hand. "I'm glad she's safe. I worried about her. An older woman living alone in a big house. There are so many things that could happen. Burglaries, accidents. I used to worry about her when you were at work, and I was there." Something cold went down my spine. That wasn't concern. That was a threat wrapped in concern. Daniel pulled his hand away. "I have to go." "Will you come back? Will you visit again?" "No. This was closure, Sarah, for both of us. Good luck with your rehabilitation." He stood and walked away. Sarah called after him. "Daniel, wait. There's more I need to tell you about your mother, about things you don't know." But he kept walking. The guard escorted Sarah back toward the cell blocks. As she left, she looked directly at the security camera and smiled. In the lobby, Daniel was shaking. "Did you hear all of that?" Webb nodded grimly. "Every word. And that last part about your mother living alone, about things that could happen, that was a threat. She can't do anything from prison." "Not directly, but Sarah Brennan has connections. People who owe her favors. People who might be willing to act on her behalf." I felt sick. "You think she'd send someone after me?" "I think she's angry that her manipulation didn't work on Daniel. I think she's looking for leverage, and threatening you is her way of trying to get control back." "What do? We increase security, we monitor her communications, see if she reaches out to anyone suspicious, and we take the threat seriously." That night, a security company installed additional cameras around my house and upgraded the alarm system. Webb arranged for patrol cars to drive by every few hours. Daniel was beside himself. "This is my fault. I shouldn't have gone. I gave her an opportunity to threaten you. You needed closure. You got it. Now we deal with the consequences." But the consequences came faster than we expected. 2 days later, someone broke into my backyard and spray-painted words on my back fence. "Old bitch should have died." The police came immediately. They took photos, collected evidence, canvassed the neighbors. No one had seen anything. Webb called that afternoon. "Sarah made 3 phone calls yesterday, 2 to her lawyer, 1 to a burner phone in Portland. We're tracing it now. She's coordinating attacks from prison. Looks like it, but we need proof. If we can catch whoever's helping her, we can add charges. But in the meantime, I want you to consider staying somewhere else for a few days. This is my house. I'm not letting her chase me out again." "Mom, please," Daniel said. "Just until they catch whoever did this." "No, we fought too hard for this house. I'm not giving her the satisfaction." That night, I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked like an intruder. At 2 a.m., the alarm system went off. Loud, piercing, terrifying. Daniel ran into my room. "Someone tried to open the back door." We called 911. Police arrived within minutes. They found fresh pry marks on the door, but whoever had been there was gone. "Professional," one officer said. "They knew how to almost bypass the alarm. If it wasn't new, they might have succeeded." Webb arrived at 3 a.m. furious. "That's it. You're both leaving this house tonight. We'll put you in a safe house until we catch these people." "No," I said. "We're not running. Margaret, they're escalating. First vandalism, now attempted break-in. Next time they might succeed. Then station officers here. Set a trap. Use us as bait. But I'm not abandoning my home." Daniel looked at Webb. "She's not going to change her mind. I know that look." "Fine," Webb said. "But we're doing this my way. Undercover officers in a van outside 24/7. Cameras everywhere. And you both need to carry panic buttons. Any sign of trouble, you hit that button and we come running." Over the next week, 2 more incidents occurred. Someone slashed my tires. Someone threw a brick through my front window with a note attached, "Sarah says hi." Evidence that Sarah was coordinating from prison. but still not enough to prove it legally. Then, Patricia called with a breakthrough. I traced the burner phone. It belongs to a man named Derek Sutton. He's got a record mostly petty theft and intimidation. And guess who visited Sarah in prison last week using a fake name, Derek's girlfriend Rachel? Can you prove they're working for Sarah? Working on it. But I followed Derek today. He went to a pawn shop and sold some jewelry. Expensive jewelry. Margaret, did you have any jewelry go missing? My heart stopped. My jewelry box disappeared when Sarah was living here. I thought she'd thrown it out. Can you describe what was in it? I described my grandmother's pearl necklace, my mother's diamond earrings, the sapphire ring Robert had given me for our 20th anniversary. Stay on the line, Patricia said. I heard her talking to someone else, heard rapid conversation. She came back. The pawn shop owner remembers Derek, said he sold a pearl necklace and sapphire ring yesterday. Margaret, if we can prove that's your jewelry, we can prove Derek was working with Sarah. That gives us probable cause to arrest him. How do we prove it's mine? Insurance photos, appraisals, any documentation you have. I did have documentation. I'd photographed all my good jewelry for insurance purposes years ago. Within hours, Patricia had matched my photos to the pawn shop's inventory. The police arrested Derek Sutton that evening. Under questioning, Derek broke immediately. Yes, he'd been working for Sarah. Yes. Rachel had visited her in prison and Sarah had told her where my house was, what my schedule was, how to scare me. Yes, Sarah had promised them money from a storage unit she claimed to have in Texas with over $100,000 in cash. She told us the old lady had millions and was going to die soon anyway, Derek said in his confession. She said if we scared her enough, she'd have a heart attack and it would look natural. Then her son would inherit and Sarah would get him back once she got out of prison. She said we'd get 10% of everything. Webb played me the confession tape. I felt nauseous. She really was trying to kill you, Daniel said, his voice hollow. Even from prison, she was still trying. The good news is we have enough now to add solicitation of murder charges, Webb said. Sarah's looking at another 15 years minimum, and with this new evidence, she'll never see parole. The new charges were filed within days. Sarah's lawyer tried to argue that Derek was lying, that Sarah had been set up. But prison phone records showed multiple calls between Sarah and Rachel, the girlfriend, before the incident started. At the new court hearing, I testified about the vandalism, the break-in attempts, the stolen jewelry. Derek testified about Sarah's plan. Rachel offered immunity in exchange for testimony confirmed everything. Sarah sat at the defense table looking small and defeated, but when she thought no one was watching, I saw her face. Cold. Calculating, still trying to find an angle. The judge was not sympathetic. Ms. Brennan, you are possibly the most dangerous defendant I've ever encountered. Even from prison, you continue to manipulate and scheme and hurt people. I'm adding 15 years to your sentence for solicitation of murder and criminal conspiracy. You'll serve a total of 45 years. I seriously doubt you'll ever see freedom again. Sarah launched herself across the courtroom screaming, "You can't do this! I'll appeal! I'll fight this forever! That old bitch won't win!" It took 4 bailiffs to restrain her. As they dragged her out, she looked directly at me. "You'll regret this, Margaret. You'll regret destroying my life. I'll make sure of it." The threat hung in the air even after she was gone. That night, Daniel and I sat in the living room. Police had caught everyone involved in Sarah's scheme. She was going to a maximum security prison with restricted communication. The immediate threat was over. "Is it really over?" Daniel asked. "Or is she going to find another way to come after us?" "It's over. She has no resources, no freedom, no access to people who can help her. She's done." "I hope you're right." A month later, Daniel came home with unexpected news. "I'm thinking about moving out." My heart sank. "Because of Sarah? Because you don't feel safe here?" "No, because I'm 29 years old and I need to start my own life. A real life. Not running from Sarah, not hiding from consequences. An actual adult life." "You're ready for that?" "I think so. Therapy's been helping. I understand now how she manipulated me, how I let fear of being alone make me vulnerable. I've learned to recognize red flags. I've learned to trust my instincts. I'm proud of you. I found an apartment. It's small, but it's mine. And Mom, I'm not abandoning you. I'm just ready to stand on my own feet again. When do you move? Next month, but I'll still come for Sunday dinners, and I'll finish paying you back. I'm up to 12,000 of the 22 I owe. Take your time. No, I need to do this. I need to prove to myself that I can fix my mistakes. The next few weeks were bittersweet. I helped Daniel pack, helped him set up his new apartment. It was small, but clean in a good neighborhood with security. I'll be fine, Mom, he said as I fussed over the locks on his door. I know, I just worry. That's what mothers do. He hugged me. Thank you, for everything, for saving me when I didn't know I needed saving, for not giving up on me even when I was awful to you, for being the strongest person I know. After he left, I walked through my house. It was quiet again, empty, but this time it didn't feel lonely. It felt peaceful. My phone rang. Patricia. Wanted to update you. Sarah tried to make contact with someone on the outside again. Prison officials caught it immediately, and she lost all communication privileges for 6 months. She's completely isolated now. Good. How are you doing? Better. Daniel moved into his own place today. He's starting over. And you? I'm reclaiming my life, my house, my peace of mind. You deserve it. What you did taking on a career criminal and winning that takes serious courage. After we hung up, I made dinner for one. Sat at the kitchen table in comfortable silence. Looked around at my home, finally completely mine again. No Sarah, no manipulation, no threats. Just peace. Later that evening, I went through the boxes I'd been avoiding, Robert's things, the memories I'd packed away after Sarah had tried to erase them. I unpacked his favorite coffee mug and put it in the cupboard, hung his jacket in the closet, put our wedding photo back on the mantel. I sat in his chair, the one Sarah had tried to throw away, but I'd rescued from the dump, and I talked to him. I did it, Robert. I protected our son. I protected our home. I wish you were here to see it, but I think you'd be proud. The house settled around me with familiar creaks and sighs. Outside the maple tree Robert had planted when Daniel was born rustled in the evening breeze. I was 63 years old. I'd survived fraud, manipulation, attempted murder. I'd taken on a career criminal and won. But more than that, I'd saved my son. I'd preserved Robert's memory. I'd protected everything we'd built together. 6 months later, Daniel called with news. Mom, I met someone. Her name is Jennifer. She's a teacher at the elementary school near my office. I want you to meet her. My heart clenched with worry. Daniel, are you sure you're ready? I'm sure. And Mom, I've been careful. Really careful. I checked everything about her. She's who she says she is. She's kind and honest, and she knows everything about what happened with Sarah. She knows. I told her on our 3rd date. I figured if she ran away, then better to know early. But she didn't run. She said everyone has baggage, and at least I'm honest about mine. I'd like to meet her. Jennifer came to Sunday dinner the next week. She was 31 with warm brown eyes and an easy laugh. She taught 2nd grade and loved her students. She came from a large family in Seattle and talked enthusiastically about her nieces and nephews. And most importantly, when I asked her casually about her background, everything she said was easily verifiable and completely consistent. I like her, I told Daniel as I walked him to his car after dinner. She seems genuine. She is. Mom, I know you'll worry. I know you'll always be watching for red flags after Sarah, but I promise I'm being smart this time. I'm taking it slow. I'm listening to my instincts. That's all I can ask. A year after Sarah's final sentencing, I was selected to speak at a conference for elder abuse prevention. They wanted me to share my story to help others recognize the warning signs of financial exploitation. Standing on that stage looking at hundreds of faces, I told them everything. The red flags I'd ignored at first, the gradual escalation, the manipulation techniques, and most importantly, how I'd fought back. If you suspect someone is being exploited, speak up, I told them. If you see warning signs in your own life, trust your instincts. Document everything, build your case, and don't be afraid to fight back. After my speech, dozens of people approached me. Elderly men and women who'd been targeted by similar scams. Adult children worried about their parents. Professionals who worked with vulnerable populations. One woman, probably in her 70s, grabbed my hand with tears in her eyes. "Thank you. My son's girlfriend has been pushing me to add her to my bank accounts, and I didn't know how to say no. But hearing your story, I realize what she's doing. You saved me from making a terrible mistake." That's when I realized that Sarah's attempt to destroy me had actually led to something good. My story was helping people, warning them, protecting them from predators like her. Over the next few months, I became something of an advocate. I worked with the FBI to create educational materials about romance scams and elder financial abuse. I spoke at senior centers and community groups. I helped Patricia develop training programs for law enforcement. Daniel was thrilled. "Dad would be so proud. You're taking something terrible and turning it into something that helps people. It's what he would have done. It's what you're doing. Mom, you're amazing." 2 years after Sarah's arrest, Daniel and Jennifer got engaged. The ring was modest, well within his budget, purchased with money he'd saved legitimately. "I want you to really get to know Jennifer first," Daniel said. "I want you to be sure about her before we get married. I'm not making the same mistake twice." So Jennifer and I spent time together. We had lunch dates, went shopping, talked about everything from her childhood to her career to her dreams for the future. I watched how she treated waiters and cashiers. I noticed that she insisted on splitting bills with Daniel. I saw how she talked about her own family with genuine affection, and slowly I relaxed. Jennifer was real. She was exactly who she claimed to be. "You have my blessing," I told Daniel. "But more than that, you have my confidence. You chose well this time." The wedding was small and beautiful. Jennifer's large family filled one side of the church, their joy and warmth spilling over. Daniel's friends filled the other side. As I walked my son down the aisle, Robert's wedding ring that I still wore on a chain around my neck felt warm against my skin. "He's here," I whispered to Daniel. "Your father. He's so proud of you." "I hope so. I know so." At the reception, Jennifer pulled me aside. "Margaret, I want to thank you for raising an incredible man, for protecting him when he needed it, for welcoming me into your family. Thank you for loving my son, and for being patient with him as he healed. He's worth it, and you're worth it. I'm lucky to have both of you." That night, dancing with Daniel at his wedding, I thought about how far we'd come. From that terrible day when he demanded I give up my bedroom to this moment of pure joy, we'd survived. We'd healed. We'd found our way back to each other. Sarah was in prison serving 45 years. She'd appealed multiple times and lost every appeal. She'd tried to manipulate prison guards, fellow inmates, even the chaplain. Each time she'd been caught and punished. She'd written a few more letters over the years which we'd never opened. Eventually even those stopped coming. She was forgotten, irrelevant, powerless, and we were free. 3 years after Sarah's arrest, Daniel and Jennifer had a baby, a daughter they named Catherine Marie after my mother and Jennifer's grandmother. Holding my granddaughter for the first time, I thought about Sarah's fake pregnancies, her manipulation tactics involving a baby that never existed. But this baby was real. This family was real. This joy was earned, not stolen. "Thank you, Grandma," Daniel said, watching me with his daughter, "for everything. If you hadn't fought for me, I wouldn't have this. Jennifer, Catherine, my real life. You gave me all of this. You gave it to yourself, by choosing truth over lies, by choosing healing over bitterness. We gave it to each other." He was right. We'd fought together and won together. That evening, sitting in my living room with Robert's photo on the mantel and my granddaughter sleeping in my arms, I finally felt complete peace. The nightmare with Sarah was truly over, not just legally, but emotionally. She had no power over us anymore, no presence in our lives, no ability to hurt us. We'd taken back everything she'd tried to steal, our home, our family, our dignity, our future, and we'd found something even better than revenge. We'd found healing, restoration, and joy. I looked at Catherine's tiny face, so innocent and new. and I made her a silent promise. I would teach her to be strong, to trust her instincts, to recognize manipulation, to stand up for herself and others, to never let anyone make her feel small or powerless. She would grow up knowing her grandfather's values, even though she'd never meet him. She would grow up knowing that her grandmother had fought off a predator to protect her family. And most of all, she would grow up knowing that love, real love, isn't about control or manipulation or lies. It's about sacrifice and truth and standing together even when things are hard. Sarah Brennan had tried to destroy us, but in the end, she'd only made us stronger, and that was the greatest victory of all. Catherine was 6 months old when the call came. Agent Webb's voice was tense. "Margaret, we have a situation. Sarah's been moved to the prison hospital. She collapsed in her cell 3 days ago. The doctors say it's stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She has maybe 3 months to live." I sat down hard on the kitchen chair. "Cancer. Advanced, aggressive. They caught it too late. She's requesting compassionate release." "Absolutely not. She tried to have me killed." "I know. The prosecutor is fighting it, but her lawyer is arguing that she deserves to die with dignity, not in a prison hospital. They're pushing for house arrest with her parents. Her parents, who she claimed abused her. Those parents. The same. Turns out they've been visiting her monthly since her arrest. They're offering to take her in, provide hospice care. This is another con, Webb. She's not dying. The medical records are real. I've seen them. Multiple doctors have confirmed it. Margaret, she really is terminal." After Webb hung up, I called Patricia. "Can someone fake cancer medical records? Doctor reports all of it." "It's difficult, but not impossible. Sarah has 3 months to find a corrupt doctor, falsify records, bribe the right people. But honestly, Margaret, if multiple prison doctors are confirming it, it's probably real." "So she gets to die free after everything she did." "Not if the prosecutor can help it. But legally compassionate release is a thing, especially for nonviolent offenders." "She solicited murder. How is that nonviolent?" "I'm on your side. I'm just telling you what her lawyers will argue." That night, I couldn't sleep. The thought of Sarah free, even dying, felt like she was winning. Like all the pain she'd caused didn't matter. Daniel came over the next morning after Webb called him. He brought Jennifer and Catherine. "I don't know how to feel about this," he said. "Part of me thinks she deserves to suffer. Part of me thinks nobody deserves to die alone in prison." Jennifer spoke up quietly. "She tried to kill your mother. She destroyed lives. Why should she get mercy when she showed none to her victims?" "Because we're not her," Daniel said. "Because if we celebrate her suffering, we become like her." "I'm not celebrating," I said, "but I'm not going to pretend to be sad either, and I absolutely will not support compassionate release." The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Webb warned me that Sarah would likely attend via video from the prison hospital. "Be prepared. She's lost a lot of weight. She looks genuinely sick. Her lawyers will use that to generate sympathy." The courtroom was less crowded this time. Linda Morrison flew in from Texas. Harold Chen's nephew attended. Jennifer Davis from Arizona sent a written statement. When the video feed connected, I barely recognized Sarah. She was skeletal, her skin gray, her eyes sunken. She wore a hospital gown and sat in a wheelchair with an IV attached to her arm. But her eyes were still sharp, still calculating. Her lawyer spoke first. "Your Honor, as you can see, my client is gravely ill. She has stage 4 pancreatic cancer with metastasis to her liver and lungs. She has approximately 8 to 12 weeks to live. She's not a flight risk. She's not a danger to anyone. She simply wants to die surrounded by family rather than in a prison cell." The prosecutor, Catherine Mills, stood. "Your Honor, Sarah Brennan has proven repeatedly that she cannot be trusted. She manipulated from prison, orchestrated attacks on a victim, showed zero remorse. The severity of her crimes warrants her serving her full sentence, regardless of her health status." "Ms. Brennan is physically incapable of harming anyone," her lawyer argued. "She can barely walk. She's in constant pain. Basic human decency suggests we should allow her these final weeks in comfort." The judge looked at Sarah on the screen. "Ms. Brennan, do you have anything to say?" Sarah's voice was weak, breathy. "Your Honor, I know I've done terrible things. I know I hurt people. I deserve to be punished. But please, I'm dying. I just want to see a sunset one more time, feel grass under my feet, say goodbye to my parents properly. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I'm just asking for mercy." Tears rolled down her hollow cheeks. Even I almost believed her. The judge was quiet for a long moment. "I'll take this under advisement. I'll issue a ruling within 48 hours. Outside the courtroom, Linda Morrison grabbed my arm. "She's acting. I know she is. That performance was too perfect." "You think she's faking cancer?" "I think she's capable of anything. My brother had cancer. Real cancer. He didn't look like that. He looked sick, yes, but not like a movie version of sick. She looks like someone who studied what dying people look like and copied it." Patricia pulled me aside. "I did some digging. The prison doctor who diagnosed her, Dr. Raymond Walsh, he has a gambling problem. Owes over $200,000 to some dangerous people." "You think Sarah got to him?" "I think it's possible. I'm looking into his finances now. If he suddenly paid off his debts, we'll know." But the judge's ruling came before Patricia could finish investigating. Compassionate release granted. Sarah would be released to her parents' custody in Atlanta with house arrest ankle monitor and mandatory weekly medical check-ins. I felt like I'd been punched. She won. After everything, she won. Webb tried to reassure me. "She's still dying. Even if she's free, she has weeks left, and we'll have eyes on her constantly. If she violates any terms of release, she goes straight back to prison." "If she's really dying..." The medical records check out. Multiple independent doctors confirmed it. Daniel was distraught. How is this justice? How is this fair to all the people she hurt? But there was nothing we could do. 5 days later, Sarah was released from prison and transported to her parents' home in Atlanta. Patricia called that night. "Margaret, Dr. Walsh just paid off his entire gambling debt, $217,000, cash. So she did bribe him. Looks like it, but proving it is another matter. And even if we prove it, getting her back into prison when she's supposedly terminal, that's a hard sell. What do? We watch, we wait, and we hope she really is dying, because if she's not, she's running the biggest con of her career." For 2 weeks, nothing happened. Weekly reports confirmed Sarah was at her parents' house, never leaving, complying with all terms of her release. Then Patricia called with an edge in her voice. "I've been watching the house. Sarah's parents aren't there." "What do you mean?" "They left 3 days ago, suitcases car packed. They haven't come back, but the ankle monitor shows Sarah is still in the house." "She cut it off." "No, it's still transmitting, but here's the thing. I drove by the house today. All the curtains are drawn, no movement, no lights at night except one upstairs that stays on constantly. I don't think Sarah's there." "How is that possible? The monitor says she's there." "Someone else is wearing it. My guess, one of her parents, probably the mother. Similar build. They leave it on, stay in the house, and Sarah's free to go wherever she wants." I felt ice in my veins. She's running. Or planning something worse. I've contacted the FBI. They're sending agents to check the house now. 2 hours later, Webb called. "The house is empty. We found the ankle monitor on the bed upstairs with a heating pad next to it to simulate body temperature. No sign of Sarah or her parents." "Where is she?" "We don't know. Her passport was supposedly surrendered, but we're checking if she has a fake one. We've alerted airports, bus stations, border crossings. But Margaret, she has a 3-day head start." "The cancer, was it real?" "We're investigating. But given that she's well enough to flee, I'm guessing no." Daniel came over immediately. Jennifer stayed home with Catherine, doors locked, security system armed. "She's out there. She's free, and she's going to come after us." "We don't know that," I said, not believing my own words. "Mom, she threatened you in court. She orchestrated attacks from prison. Now she's escaped and has nothing to lose. Of course she's coming after us." Webb arranged for protective custody. Officers outside my house 24 hours. Agents monitoring Daniel's apartment. Everyone Sarah had ever harmed was contacted and warned. But days passed with no sign of her. No sightings, no credit card usage, no digital footprint. "It's like she vanished," Webb said. "Either she planned this incredibly well or she had serious help." Patricia was working her contacts. "I'm hearing rumors. Someone matching Sarah's description was seen in Vancouver 3 days ago. Someone else says they saw her in Mexico City, but nothing confirmed." "She could be anywhere." Or she could be here. The best place to hide is sometimes right under our noses. That night, I dreamed about Robert. He was standing in our bedroom looking at me with sad eyes. "Be careful, Maggie girl. She's not done with you yet." I woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of breaking glass downstairs. I grabbed the panic button Webb had given me and pressed it hard. Then I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. "Someone's in my house. Please help." I could hear footsteps downstairs, slow, deliberate, coming up the stairs. I locked my bedroom door and pushed my dresser against it. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might have a heart attack. The footsteps stopped outside my door. A soft knock. "Margaret, are you awake?" Sarah's voice. Sweet, pleasant, like we were friends. "I know you're in there. I can hear you breathing. Come out and let's talk. Just you and me, like old times. The police are coming. They're already on their way." "Then we should make this quick." She tried the handle. When it didn't open, she laughed. "Really? You think a locked door is going to stop me after everything I've been through?" Something heavy hit the door. Once. Twice. She was trying to break it down. I grabbed the lamp off my nightstand and backed into the corner. If she got through, I'd fight. "You ruined my life, Margaret. I had everything planned perfectly. I would have been rich, comfortable, set for life. But you just had to investigate. You couldn't just die like you were supposed to." Another hit. The door frame was cracking. Sirens in the distance. Getting closer. "They're almost here." "Sarah, give up. I don't need much time. Just enough to make you pay." The door splintered. Her hand reached through, fumbling for the lock. I saw her then through the broken wood. She didn't look sick at all. Her face was full, her eyes bright. The dying woman from the courtroom video had been completely fake. "Surprise!" she said, grinning. "Turns out I'm not dying after all. Funny how that worked out." The sirens were on my street now, flashing lights through my window. Sarah cursed and pulled her hand back. "Another time then, Margaret. I'm patient. I can wait." I heard her running down the stairs, the back door slamming. Police burst through my front door seconds later. "Mrs. Whitmore, where is she? She ran out the back maybe 30 seconds ago." They radioed for backup and chased after her. I heard shouting dogs barking helicopters overhead. Webb arrived and found me sitting on my bedroom floor, still clutching the lamp. "Are you hurt?" "No. Terrified but not hurt. She was going to kill me. She said I was supposed to die." "We'll get her. She can't have gone far." But they didn't find her that night, or the next day. It was like she'd disappeared into thin air. Daniel wanted me to move in with him and Jennifer. "You can't stay in that house, not when she knows where you are." "If I leave, she wins. Again. If you stay, you might die. Is that worth it?" I didn't have an answer. Patricia came by the next afternoon with new information. I found Dr. Walsh. He confessed to everything. Sarah promised him $500,000 from an offshore account if he faked the cancer diagnosis. She'd been planning this escape for months. She had help from at least 3 people we know of, probably more. So she was never sick. Never. The weight loss was intentional. Starvation diet, diuretics, makeup. She studied terminal cancer patients and mimicked the symptoms. The doctors who confirmed it were either bribed or shown falsified test results. It was elaborate and expensive, and it worked. How did she pay for all this from prison? Remember Marcus Chen? The man who posted her bail? Turns out that was a fake name. We think it was actually one of her associates using a false identity. She's been moving money through shell companies for years. She's got resources we didn't know about. So we're dealing with someone who has money connections and nothing to lose. Exactly. For 3 days, there was no sign of Sarah. Police presence around my house increased. Daniel stayed with me most nights. Jennifer brought Catherine by during the day, but they never stayed long. "I feel like we're living in a prison," Daniel said. "Looking over our shoulders constantly, jumping at every sound. That's what she wants, to terrorize us even when she's not here." On the 4th day, Linda Morrison called. "Margaret, someone broke into my house in Texas. They didn't take anything. They just left a note. It said, 'You should have minded your own business.' She's going after everyone who testified against her. The police are taking it seriously, but they said without direct proof it's Sarah, there's not much they can do. Jennifer Davis called an hour later with a similar story. Break-in, nothing stolen, threatening note. Sarah was sending a message. She could get to anyone, anywhere, anytime. That night, I sat Daniel and Jennifer down. I have an idea. It's risky, but I think it's the only way to end this. What kind of idea? Daniel asked warily. We use me as bait. We let her think she has an opportunity to get to me. And when she takes it, we catch her. Absolutely not, Jennifer said immediately. That's insane. She's not going to stop. She'll keep coming after all of us until she gets what she wants, or until we catch her. This way we control the situation. Webb was initially against it too. Too dangerous. We can't guarantee your safety. You can't guarantee it now. At least this way we're proactive instead of reactive. After hours of arguing, Webb finally agreed. We do this my way. Complete surveillance, undercover officers everywhere, body armor, panic buttons, and at the first sign of real danger, we abort. The plan was simple. I would announce publicly that I was moving into a retirement community, that the stress had been too much, that I was scared and giving up my house. We leaked the information to local news, made it look like Sarah had won, like I was running away. Then we waited. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. I started to think Sarah was too smart to fall for it. Then on a Tuesday night, the motion sensors around my house detected someone in the backyard. The camera showed a figure dressed in black, face-covered, checking windows. Webb radioed all units. Stand by. Do not engage until she's inside and we have clear identification. I sat in my living room, visible through the window, pretending to read. My heart hammered, but I kept my hands steady. The back door lock clicked. She was picking it. The door opened slowly. Footsteps in my kitchen. I kept reading, acting oblivious. Sarah appeared in the doorway. She wasn't wearing a mask anymore. She wanted me to see her face. Hello, Margaret. Surprised to see me. I set down my book. Not really. I knew you'd come. Did you? How clever, but not clever enough to actually leave when you had the chance. I'm not leaving my home. Not for you. Not for anyone. She pulled out a knife, long serrated, meant to hurt. That's too bad, because I'm not leaving without finishing what I started. You mean killing me? That was always your plan, wasn't it? From the first day I walked into this house, rich widow, isolated, grieving, you were perfect. If you'd just died quietly, Daniel would have inherited, we'd have lived here together, and eventually he'd have had an unfortunate accident too. I'd have gotten everything. But I didn't die. No, you were smarter than I expected, stronger. You ruined everything. She stepped closer, knife raised. But I'm going to fix that now. Webb's voice came through my hidden earpiece. We have confession. All units move in, now. Doors and windows exploded inward. Agents poured in from every direction. Sarah spun, realized she was surrounded, and lunged at me with the knife. I'd been prepared for this. I rolled off the chair and hit the ground as she stabbed empty air where I'd been sitting. 2 agents tackled her before she could try again. She fought like a wild animal, screaming and clawing. You can't do this. I'll get out again. I'll always get out, and I'll keep coming for you until you're dead. They cuffed her hands behind her back and dragged her to her feet. Her face was contorted with rage. This isn't over, Margaret. It's never over. I'll haunt you until the day you die. No, I said, standing up. It's over. You're going back to prison and you're never getting out again. And this time there's no fake cancer, no bribes, no escape plans. You're done. Webb held up a recording device. We got everything. The confession, the threats, the attempted murder. She's looking at life without parole. Sarah's face went blank. Then she started laughing. Hysterical, manic laughter that chilled my blood. You think you've won, you stupid old woman. You think this is the end? I've got friends everywhere. People who owe me favors. People who'll finish what I started. We'll find them all, Webb said, and they'll all go to prison with you. They took her away, still laughing, still threatening. When the house was finally quiet again, Daniel emerged from where he'd been hiding upstairs with armed protection. It's really over. It's really over. He hugged me tight. I'm so sorry for bringing her into our lives, for not seeing what she was, for all of it. You were a victim too. Never forget that. The trial for Sarah's escape and attempted murder was swift. She was convicted on all counts and sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole at a maximum security facility. At sentencing, she looked at me one last time. "I hope you enjoy your victory, Margaret, because it cost you everything. You'll never feel safe again. Every shadow, every stranger. You'll wonder if it's someone coming for me. You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. That's my gift to you." The judge banged his gavel. "Remove her from my courtroom." But as they took her away, I realized she was right about one thing. Part of me would always be watching, always be careful, always remember what she'd tried to do. That was the price of survival. 3 months later, things had settled into a new normal. I'd installed permanent security measures. Daniel and Jennifer had moved into a house with their own security system. Catherine was growing happy and healthy. I was contacted by a publisher who wanted me to write a book about my experience, a warning to others about the dangers of financial predators and how to protect yourself. "I think you should do it," Daniel said. "Turn your nightmare into something that helps people." So I did. I spent 6 months writing about everything that had happened. The manipulation, the investigation, the evidence gathering, the trials. I didn't hold back. The book was published a year after Sarah's final sentencing. It became a bestseller almost immediately. Apparently, thousands of people had experienced similar situations or knew someone who had. I donated the proceeds to elder abuse prevention organizations and victim support services. Sarah heard about the book, of course. She sent one final letter from prison. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. Inside was a single sentence: "You win, Margaret. Congratulations." No threats. No promises of revenge, just acknowledgement of defeat. I burned the letter in my fireplace and never looked back. 5 years after everything started, I stood in my living room surrounded by family. Daniel and Jennifer's second child, a boy named Robert, toddled around while Catherine helped me set the table for Sunday dinner. "Grandma, tell me again how you caught the bad lady," Catherine said. She was 6 now, old enough to understand some of what had happened. "I caught her by being smarter, braver, and more stubborn than she expected. Like you always tell me to be, exactly like that." Daniel came in carrying Robert. "Mom, Jennifer and I have been talking. We want you to know that we appreciate everything you did, not just catching Sarah, but teaching us what real strength looks like. You would have done the same for Catherine and Robert." "I hope so. I hope I'm half as fierce as you when it matters." That evening, after everyone left, I sat in Robert's chair and looked around my home. The home Sarah had tried to steal. The home I'd fought to keep. Everything was back where it belonged. Family photos on the mantel, Robert's favorite mug in the cupboard, my mother's Afghan on the couch. The memories that Sarah had tried to erase were restored and honored. I'd survived. More than that, I'd won. Not because Sarah was in prison, though that helped. Not because I'd written a book or become an advocate, though that mattered. I'd won because I'd refused to be a victim, because I'd fought back when it would have been easier to give up, because I'd protected my family and my home and my dignity. Sarah Brennan had tried to destroy everything I loved, and she'd failed. That was enough. I picked up Robert's photo and touched his face through the glass. "We did it, sweetheart. We protected our boy. We kept our home. We won." Outside the maple tree Robert had planted swayed in the evening breeze. Inside my house was warm and safe and mine. After everything, after all the fear and pain and fighting, I had peace. Real earned permanent peace. And nobody, not Sarah Brennan or anyone else, could ever take that away from me again. I was Margaret Ann Whitmore. I was 68 years old now. I'd survived betrayal, manipulation, attempted murder, and a career criminal's revenge. But more than surviving, I'd learned something crucial. The most powerful thing you can do when someone tries to control you is refuse to be controlled. Say no. Fight back. Document everything. Build your case. Stand your ground. And never, ever let them make you believe you're powerless. Because you're not. I wasn't. And neither are you. That's the real end of this story. Not Sarah in prison, though she deserved it. Not the money recovered or the book written or the advocacy work. The real end is me in my home, surrounded by the people I love, living the life Sarah tried to steal. That's justice. That's victory. That's everything.